Hello, everyone. We're here again. It's episode 116, but it is Thursday. It's Thursday. What's happened? What's happened? It's Thursday. Yes. Well, now we're I've got that out of the way. We'll be back to normal next week, so it'll be back to Wednesday. But there we are. Anyhow, what else one can say? Welcome, Delboy, as always. Great pleasure to have you here. I'll just say, what have you watched? That's what we normally do. So
yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to turn the sound off on my phone.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be disturbed. Do you know what I mean?
Great. Yeah.
So I did that. It's been an interesting week. First of all, thanks very much for anybody that's watching. We don't know how many there are. We haven't seen hello yet, but and supporting me. It's been a very weird time with looking after mum with this heat. I've had to constantly alter my blog to go away and come back and go away and come back, and I've had to do pauses and all sorts of stuff that I don't like doing, but I've got no sort of like real choice without the tablets. But so what have I been watching? Well, it's other than the football, and I was just explaining to Ian just before we came on. I said, well, if you haven't watched that much, you got to remember that we've watched 2 England games between the last time we did a stream and this week, and that therefore is 3-6 hours of your time where you would have been probably watching something on TV, or film wise. So, and for me, I watched the football with my mum, so she's got no DVD player or anything in that room. So, of course, everything I've watched has been the football. So I've got even less time than I have in here than I normally have. And I don't watch an awful lot, as everybody knows, because I'm looking after my mum. So, yeah, it's been an interesting one. But let me just turn this off again. There we are. Because although I've watched things that have been on telly, there are a couple of things that I can show you the boxes of that I've got. So actually, the first thing I watched, because I was intrigued to know what the picture quality was like, was this very expensive set that I bought a while back of Rambo. This was the really expensive one. Look, you'll see.
Yeah.
It even comes with a card on the back, with a serial number and all this sort of stuff. I think it came from Zavi, but it was actually a special deal that they did with one of these people that do those deluxe packaging things, from Japan and all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I watched it and the picture quality was great. I thought it was brilliant. So I watched that.
Can I just ask, I've never seen the last Rambo film. Is it really bad? Is it really bad?
No, I'll tell you what. Yeah. The thing that impressed me about the last one is that the last 2 Rambo films, they used a composer that really embraced the fact that Jerry Goldsmith did the main bulk of the Rambo trilogy, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And so when the last one come up, they did a montage at the end, sort of similar to Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered. They did all these pictures of all the way through all the years. Do you know what I mean? The last one was very personal type thing. He basically was now running the ranch that his parents owned, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But he was sort of like looking after this, I don't know if they were Mexican or Spanish type family. And she gets kidnapped by drug barons or something and trafficked.
Yeah.
But it then turns into blowing up his old ranch, to entice these in. And he dug holes underneath this ranch and put all sorts of traps and stuff in. He got seriously injured, and then you see something at the end where there's a question mark on whether he survives or not, right? And that's where it ends. And there's this sort of montage sequence with sort of resemblances of Jerry Goldsmith's motifs with this other new sort of theme that they've had in the last couple of films, So actually, it's not bad. It's just it's not what I consider to be Rambo. But you see, to me, Rambo was the first film. I didn't even really like the second and third, to be quite honest. They were big spectaculars, and I really enjoyed them. And I sort of was glad that they were there. The second one more than the third one.
Yeah, and because it's First Blood, isn't it? The first film.
It was just called. It was just called First Blood. It was just called First Blood. They added Rambo First Blood, and then they called it Rambo First Blood Part 2 and all this sort of stuff. The third one was set in Afghanistan. I didn't really get on with that one too much. It was more about, my old commander's been on a mission and he's got captured, so I'll go there. And he sort of befriends the tribes, didn't he? And sort of like goes after these sort of like Russian type, Well, I'm not really into that. And the second one was sort of like Vietnam type thing again, and rescuing prisoners of wars, which I think is a little bit more of a thing that I thought Rambo would do. Although he would have wanted to get his old colonel out, it's a bit of a weak turn of events that because he turned down the mission and he felt guilty that he'd go there and risk his life and all of this sort of stuff, and of course get involved with a war that wasn't even his. You know what I mean? It's like bit of a push too far. And the other one was him sort of retiring, wasn't it? And if I remember rightly, it was criticized because of all of the killings that went on. Apparently, there was more killings in that film than any other film that had ever come before it. It was it was showing the army shooting all the people as they crossed the river and all of this sort of stuff. There was a charity people, wasn't it? He was a boat person who transported you across treacherous terrains, didn't he? And pirates and everything were there. But when they got there, they killed those charity people and raped the only woman that was involved, wasn't there? And he went back there and tried to get them out, didn't he? But apparently it was the most goriest, bloodiest Rambo that there ever was. And then of course you've got the final one, haven't you, which I've just talked about. But going back to the original one is just, to me, sublime in what it is. It's America. It's the whole America shunned anybody that went to Vietnam story. And it needed to be told. And then there are these people that don't give a shit, and because he looked like a vagrant, pushed this guy for no reason whatsoever, who wouldn't even let him stay at a bloody petrol station to have a cup of coffee. It starts the whole "you pushed me, not I pushed you," and all of that sort of stuff. And it works.
It does.
The end sort of like speech is very pertinent, because he says, in the war I was in control of $1 million tanks. Over here I can't get a job pumping gas in a petrol station. How can that be right? And it's quite right. I mean, at the end of the day, they served their country. A lot of them died from lung cancers and all sorts of stuff, lost limbs, and shunned. Done more pertinently with things like Tom, with that Tom Cruise one in the wheelchair and all that sort of stuff. And also Jane Fonda ones and all of this sort of stuff. Done with much, probably more heart in those, and more structured in their putting this across to the audience. But Rambo First Blood is sort of like telling it to the masses without you having to understand what it was all about in the first place, because you can understand revenge, you can understand wrongs and rights. Do you know what I mean? Rather than all of the prejudices. Forrest Gump does that quite well. If you think about it, Forrest Gump has got a lot of that sort of stuff in it. He went over there, didn't he? He didn't understand why he was, in the rain all the time, and and then when the rain stopped, all of a sudden there was all the firing and all of this sort of stuff, and they were napalming the whole of the Vietnamese trees and all of that sort of stuff. and then all of a sudden he was a ping pong champion, and then he's executed from the army. Thanks very much for doing your time, young man. Off you go, and he's got nowhere to go. You know, like I said, some things are done really quite well, and I liked Forrest Gump anyway because of the way that they intertwined all of the things that went on in history. I'm staying in this hotel, and I can see. I think they've lost. I think the fuse box has gone. It was the Watergate scandal, wasn't it? You know, all of that sort of stuff. You know, and Elvis Presley getting his dance routine because he wore braces or something during. All of that's quite fun. I always found Forrest Gump as a non-intrusive, and that covered a lot of bases, including AIDS. You know, it covered AIDS.
Yeah.
You know, so Forrest Gump's got a lot to, you know, as much as people say, but they should never have made a film where it's about a dunce or something. It's not done very nicely and all of this sort of stuff. I look at it that it's a story that tells from a heart point of view.
Yeah.
You know, this guy, so I don't know, he just wanders into things that you see all this historical stuff going on. You learn an awful lot.
Yeah, it's an amazing film.
Segregation of blacks going into colleges, and he picked up a book and gave it to her, and all of this sort of stuff. You know, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on in that film.
It's a good film.
Anyway, then I watched Catch Me If You Can.
All right, yeah.
Which I really like again. That's a Tom Hanks that we've just talked about with Forrest Gump. Really like that one because, again, it's about counterfeiting and all of this sort of stuff, and how the whole thing towards the end turns into a good news story. And I don't want to give it away, so I'm not going to mention it. But it's very interesting how they tried to catch him, and at the end, there's a positive that's out of it. So I really like that. I did see Jurassic Park on telly last night because, as many people I'm sure are going to say in the chat, Sam Neill died. It was very sad to hear that news. I really was taken aback by it. I knew he wasn't very well. That's because I'd seen other people's Facebook pictures of when he was in hospital having cancer treatment in the last couple of years, but I didn't know that it had taken that much of an effect. And it was great to hear people like Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum give such poignant things to say about him. Steven Spielberg said one of the nicest things, you know. It didn't start off that way. The comment was something about, we had our family on Jurassic Park, and you weren't my first choice for Dr. Grant. I think that was his name, wasn't it? Dr. Grant. But you turned it around because I know that you're a big father, you know, and Dr. Grant is somebody who doesn't like kids. So you made it your own, and you're a fantastic person, and you'll be sadly missed. And it was. I sadly miss it. And it was great watching Jurassic Park again. I mean, any time to sort of like watch Jurassic Park again anyway, because it's that thing that I always said that seems to work in the 90s and 80s and earlier more than the 2000s, is that perfect marriage of music and visuals. You see what I mean? Jurassic Park's got a fantastic main theme and a good score all the way through it. And what can you say about the visuals? The first time that I went to the pictures and saw those dinosaurs, I thought, wow, this really is good. You know, I mean, all the time, the Sun newspaper, and I don't know what if people know this, but in the 90s, in the summer blockbusters, they usually told you or showed you a big little spread in the paper saying, this is going to be the big summer blockbusters. Look at these pictures. Look at these dinosaurs, blah, 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 blah. It's really going to blow your mind. And the pictures never showed you really anything good because it was that crappy newspaper print. You know what I mean? You don't get an awful lot. But then when you actually went to the pictures, you went, wow. Oh, my God. So all the way up, walking home from the pictures, I remember humming that tune. It was in my head. Just that motif from Jurassic Park must have been played, I don't know how many times. You know, through the score, that it was just in my head when I was going home. It's very much like the Rocky theme. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The motif is played so many times that you just go, you just know it off by heart. You just know it. You know, you're just going off like the Superman march and all sorts of stuff. You don't get that, I think, in modern day films these days. Maybe I'm giving that a bad service, but from my point of view, you don't. That's just personal. So the other Sam Neill film that I watched was Event Horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you already knew that I'd seen a Sam Neill film recently with that door. You remember that door one? Where, I forgot what it's called, the Pass Door or Path. I forgot what the bloody film was called.
You sent it to...
he played it with gusto, didn't he? He played a sort of like, not an elf, but a sort of ogre sort of like grotesque creature. And he just did that so well. By the way, I just need to interrupt. Don't Sub Gaming. Of course, you can ask a Spider-Man question. Just ask us anything. It says it at the bottom. Just go straight ahead if you've got a question. Going back to this Event Horizon. Yeah, I remember going to the pictures and seeing this one. It wasn't a scary film, but it had jump scares. What I call jump scares, and it used to. I swear that it made me laugh at the beginning because if I remember rightly, they went off in a rescue ship and the ship was called the Lois and Clark or something, which is a Superman reference. So, you know, so Event Horizon was really nice to go back to. It's a deluxe edition. I've got a bigger box version than this, but this one was the steel book, the 25th anniversary, and it just made me think about so many different Sam Neill films that I've seen, you know, with you know, the Omen film and all of that sort of stuff. He was even in a mini drama that was Cain and Abel. Do you remember we were talking the other day about we don't see many mini series anymore?
That's
he was in Cain and Abel, wasn't he? So when you think about his roots, you just think to yourself, wow, this guy just did some great stuff. And of course, it was only a couple of weeks ago that I showed off my steelbook of The Hunt for Red October. Yeah. And he's in that. Yeah. Even though most people will just remember Sean Connery and Baldwin, you know, Alec Baldwin. Yeah. You forget that he was there as well, Sam Neill. So, you know, so that's pretty much what I've been watching. I think I mentioned Blade Runner, didn't I?
Yes, Blade Runner,
yeah. So I watched Blade Runner. It was on telly. Yeah. Whenever Blade Runner's on telly, I'll continue to watch it. It doesn't matter. I can come in 10 minutes or 20 minutes in and I'll continue to watch it because I know exactly what happened.
Yeah. You never know, something might change.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, Ridley Scott might have brought out another cut of it. You know,
we've got this extra limited special edition.
He'll probably do the BBC cut.
Yeah. God, there's loads of cuts at Blade Runner, but that's
and you shouldn't joke about it because he probably will. Yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, I found this extra 15 seconds that hasn't been in, and I think I better bring it out.
It's as bad as that, actually. That's it. Yeah.
You know, Chris does this extra leap or something. So I put it back in, and it really changes the whole dynamic of the story. Does it buggery, Chris? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Just because Daryl Hannah's one of Daryl Hannah's first roles. Jesus.
Take that blooming unicorn out. Oops.
Oh, yeah, the one that's left on the floor and the talk over. Oh, I'll tell you what was interesting. I bet you not many people know. In fact, I'll ask the question, right? What season and episode, right, was the Blade Runner movie music, the main theme Blade Runner movie, played in Magnum, PI, and what famous actress was in that story? And it was a two-parter, by the way. Just so you know. You'll be interested by the result of that. I'll say it at the end. I want to know the actress that was in it And what season of Magnum PI had the music from Vangelis's Blade Runner blaring at the beginning? It's a car chase at the beginning, and they played the Vangelis end theme. You know, when the end theme that goes over the mountains.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. See if anybody can answer that one. Right, I know.
Of course. I should hope you do. You're asking question.
Well, yeah, but I could have looked it up or something before. That's just come to my head just now because I mentioned Blade Runner. It's amazing what sort of little bits of trivia you've got when you mention certain films, because, you know, like somebody will mention, like, I'm sure Jamie will understand this when he comes in, The Thing. He's watched that documentary now. He'll be full of information that he'll remember even in 10 years' time that he saw in that documentary. You know, that somebody will go, oh, I didn't know that. And you go, oh, yeah, I knew that 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So, by the way, the episode of Magnum was from 1984. That helps you. Anyway, carry on. Let's have this time. Let's hope we have Tony York corner for all the people that have got all sorts of like anxiety and withdrawal symptoms, because it used to be a drug, right?
Yeah, I've let you down again. There is no. What's the world coming to?
Bloody hell! You're going to have to change that around in the next couple of weeks, you know.
It's ruining your jokes. I'm sorry. I haven't watched as much this week so far, but, you know, I've still got a few days before Saturday, so a few more things might come in. So all I've got here is three things. Because like you said, I've been watching football and stuff like that, and you just don't feel. And actually, I've been listening to some. I looked at my collection and I found out that the Police only did 5 studio albums, and I got 3 of them. So I thought, well, why don't I get the other 2? Then I'll have the complete albums by the Police. So I ordered them and got them. So I've been listening to Police. I love the Police. Very, very good.
And talking about music a little bit, they've announced the pre-order for that Iron Maiden film that was out in a steelbook format, haven't they?
Oh yeah. I don't know whether I would go for that. I like Iron Maiden, some of their albums, but am I a big enough fan for that? I don't know. I don't think I possibly am, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I bet it's quite expensive as well. But,
I think the pre-order price was $34.99.
Yeah. But sometimes I look at my CD collection and I think, I like getting complete runs, even bad albums, putting them all in. But Police haven't got a bad album anyhow. 5 albums.
Yeah,
it's not much. I thought, there's going to be more than that, but it's not much. But they, as a career, I think that it was quite plain, really, what they were going to do, and they didn't want to hang around really too long, outstay the welcome, I think. And I think Sting was perhaps going in a slightly more different direction in his own music, as he's proved with his solo career, which was very much different from what the Police were doing. But anyhow, that's how it went. So let's get into films. So the first one is, in a way, I'm continuing from last week, an actor who I really like, and which is Dustin Hoffman. And this one is Kramer versus Kramer, 1979. It won 5 Oscars, believe it or not, as well. So it's an Oscar-winning film. And the director is somebody called Robert Benton. And a lot of these films I don't really know. The Late Show, 1977. Though he did write the script to Superman movie, 1978. Yeah. But the other stuff, I just really not. I've never heard of the Human Stain, which is 2003.
Did you see that Did you see that film at the Pictures?
Yeah, I did. all this era, I do tend to watch. This is when I used to go to see films at the cinema a lot. So I saw this one at the cinema.
My story behind Kramer versus Kramer was it was one of those early films that you got on VHS and Betamax when the small independent video shops.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And everybody was saying, "Oh, you must see this. It's a great film," and all of that sort of stuff. And my dad brought it back, and we watched it. And because I was just about reaching my teens, I didn't get it. I thought, well, this is boring. Of course, this is where you get that what you saw early on and what you see now. You can actually totally turn around.
Yeah,
you know, the whole thing, because you're seeing things about divorce and the kid and the courtroom and all of this sort of stuff. So really, for me, it hits all the bases in my age now, but when I was back then, it was one of those. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't Superman. This isn't Krull. This isn't Labyrinth. This isn't. What the hell am I watching this shit for? It was a drama thing that I'd have been bored watching on a Sunday, I said to myself. You know what I mean? But
yeah, how wrong you were.
5 years later, and I'm praising it like mad. You know what I mean?
I love that era. That because I was going to the cinema, but every week.
I think I felt the same about Tootsie, though.
Yeah. He told us.
Tootsie was nothing to me until later on, where I then went, "Oh my God, look, you got Bill Murray in it. Oh my God, you got Terry Garr in it. Oh my God, you got all these names were cropping up." And of course, what a great thing it was as well, him trying to do two roles. You then appreciate he's not only playing himself, he's playing an actor that's playing another character that's then it's just such a tapestry of things for Dustin Hoffman. He must have been like a pig in shit.
Yeah,
in that role. He must have turned around and said, "Can I have free wages as well, please? Because I'm playing free roles."
So this film, as I say, it's got Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, and the lad is called Justin Henry, and it was one of the extras. He's grown up on here, and he talks about playing Little Billy, which is really good to see a child actor who's grown up, and he's quite a young adult in this, and it's quite good watching that. And then the woman who won an Oscar for Best Supporting Role was Jane Aliana. I think that's her name. She played Margaret, and she won an Oscar, I think. But I think the important thing, I always like to know about sort of background in films, what's going on. Now, at this point in real life, Dustin Hoffman was going through a divorce, and he talks about it in the extras here. So this was quite an interesting role, that he actually was going through a divorce. And then, of course, Meryl Streep, it wasn't that long since she lost, what's his name? Yeah, John Cazale. You remember John Cazale? Godfather 1 and 2, he played Frida. And Deer Hunter, which his last film where he was dying, she was in a relationship with him, and he died. And so it wasn't that long after she made that film. So she, in extras, she talks about that sense of
but was this also Meryl Streep sort of like jumping on point for her getting all the Oscars, because she got that, she was in that one about the dingoes, weren't she, in Australia?
Oh yes, there was. Yeah, she got at a period where she was Sophie's Choice and all these other films that she was doing well.
Was it Kramer versus Kramer that started that whole thing off, or was the one before Kramer versus Kramer?
Was the French Lieutenant's Woman the one that really started it all off?
I'm not sure. I thought Kramer versus Kramer was the first one, but I mean, like I
don't know. I don't know the order, but I know French Lieutenant's Woman. She became sort of more known, and then she had this sort of period where she was just in lots and lots of films. She was
Yeah.
really in everything, sort of at one time. She was. I think a good thing about Meryl Streep is she's aged well. She's carried
Yeah.
on and still doing roles, and age hasn't been a problem for her. Which, for a lot of actresses, they do worry about that, don't they? Now they're going to have a
Yeah.
career as they get older, but that is a quality of a Meryl Streep. I think she's, she was able to do that, and she's still making films. So I think this film, it's good on a lot of levels. You have got the courtroom drama bit, and yeah, another interesting fact I learned about the courtroom drama is the speech that she makes in the witness when she's been cross-examined. She wrote herself. She said, the director said, I'd really want you to be emotional and give it how you feel about it. And she wrote all that herself, and some directors would never have allowed like that. The script is the script and that's it. But this director, he said, you do it. And she did it. And it comes across. That bit is very powerful when she's talking about being his mother and what have you. It's wonderful. It's a really heartfelt bit in it. I just think this film it stands up. You can still watch this now, and it doesn't feel dated at all. It's 1979. You could still feel this now as if it was going on today.
Yeah.
It could still be going on today. This kind
of course, it also shows the city in a sort of like a autumn scenario. So it could have been anywhere really in America, couldn't it? But it's, but the streets do look authentic for the time. Yeah, but they still look like that now.
Yeah,
from what I've heard.
There is a great scene directing in it, and they talk about it in here. It's when they're in the park and he falls off.
Central Park, isn't it?
Yeah, he falls off this like climbing frame, and it's all done in one take. Him rushing to the hospital, and he's running along, absolutely panicking, and it's brilliant. He just goes straight through, and they filmed it in one take, just going along, and somehow he managed to do it okay. The traffic and that could have been a worry because it goes across with traffic, but they did it.
Yeah, because you try getting the permits to film in that city and do something like that in one take with the traffic and everything.
Yeah,
that would be very, very difficult setup to do.
It was a good.
It was at a time where also at a time where Steadicam was in its infancy. I mean, if I remember rightly, they developed it to a point where it was really good for Rocky. Yeah. Where he was running up the Philadelphia steps. That's a Steadicam.
Yeah.
And it was designed specifically for that shot, if I remember rightly. Yeah. So to do that type of shot, you would have had to, because you can't lay down the track for them to go along and while he's running along. So they would have had to have used that type of setup.
Yeah.
And when's that film? It's late 70s, isn't it? Early 80s.
79. Yeah.
79. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still. I think it's still very watchable, and I do watch. I must admit, it's one that I probably watch every year. I watch this every year.
I've got it, and I must admit, I've it's been a number of years since I watched it, but I've had great enjoyment every time I've watched it.
It is. It's one I come back to quite a bit. Right, the next one, of course, you're going to get my obligatory Hammer film, and I'm working through, I suppose, the last and maybe not the most popular of the Hammer monsters, which is the Mummy. So I'm on the second Mummies film, which is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. This is 1964, and it's directed by Michael Carrera. Now, Michael Carrera also wrote this, but he's one of these administrators as well in Hammer, one of the founders of this sort of company. And he, in fact, directed, he co-directed Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, which I'll probably be reviewing very soon, actually. And he's perhaps the best, and it's really good, is that. So I'll talk about that one when it comes. And just as an interesting point, he directed this film called Shatter. Now, this is 1975. And what makes it interesting, it was one that they co-produced with the Shaw brothers in Hong Kong, because they had a 2-film deal. If you remember, there's the Peter Cushing film with the 7 golden vampires. And the deal was that they had to produce another film. So there's this film called Shatter, which I've never heard of or seen. I'd be interested to see that, actually. But, you know, that's from 1975. So you've got a cast here of, let's see, you've got Terence Morgan, who's more known for TV series. As a series I've heard and never seen, which was Sir Francis Drake. Apparently the BBC, I think, did a series called about Sir Francis Drake, probably late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to see. And then you've got someone, Ronald Howard, who he plays the Egyptologist, and he's got an interesting lot of the films. Fred Clark is the sort of American promoter guy, and he's sort of an American actor as well. Various ones that he's involved in. Then the one that I always point out is we've got George Pastelin again, who plays Hashimi Bey. He's this sort of Egyptian government person, and he pops up in these Hammer films, always playing sort of a bad guy, sort of Egyptian Arab kind of character. He was just made for doing that. In fact, he's a Greek Cypriot, but they always put him in that role. And of course, we've got, he's not in it long, but he's in there. We've got the Michael Ripper moment. Michael Ripper pops up and gets murdered pretty quickly. Just so he's not in it long. He's not a pub landlord for a change. The lead is Jean Roland. Yeah, I think that, yeah, Jean Renault. Yeah, I think that's Roland. She's the daughter, and she's an actress who just disappeared. They don't. That Jonathan Rigby was a great, absolute Hammer head. Him and Kim Newman just know everything about Hammer. Well, Jonathan Rigby does, and he always does things. And he said they don't know what happened to her. They've searched and found she just totally disappeared. Absolutely, there's no trace of this actress or information. And if you look on, Wikipedia and all that, there's absolutely nothing about her. So who knows? Perhaps the mummy's got her. Perhaps they got her. I don't know. And then the last one I've got here is this is quite a famous one. I think most people will say that they prefer the 1978 version. Though I think this one's got a lot of good going for it. I enjoy it. It's the 39 Steps.
Oh, wow.
There's 1978 one with Robert Powell. People always talk about this one. But this one, 1935. So it is very early in...
I'll be back in a couple of minutes, Ian. Just bear with me.
Yeah, okay. I'll carry on. Hitchcock's career very early on. This is in his sort of what they call the classic British period of Hitchcock, where he's doing all these British films before he goes to Hollywood. It's very much got a lot of themes that Hitchcock became well known for, which is... I'll go into them. Just the cast. We've got Robert Donat, who plays Donut or Donut. He could be called Donut. I'll call him Donut. He plays the Richard Hannay character. I mean, he goes right back to 1932 with Men of Tomorrow and The Count of Monte Cristo, 1934. All these old classic films. The Citadel, 1938. The Winslow one, 1948. And then a film I have heard of, but I've never seen, which is The Inn of the Sixth Happiness, which was the last film he did before he died, 1958. Then you've got Madeline Carroll, who plays Pamela, and she is the Hitchcock blonde. There's always got to be a blonde, and here she is. She was in The Secret Agent, which was another Hitchcock film from 1936. She was in The Prison of Zenda, 1937. My favorite blonde, then we are 1942, which has Bob Hope in it. And also she was in The Fan. That's it, The Fan, 1949. And that was her last film. So you can see all these sort of older actresses and actors. Then we've got another old actress as well, Peggy Ashcroft, and she plays the Crofter's wife. She was in The Nun's Story in 1959. She's well known for that. The Secret Ceremony, which I've covered before, was Elizabeth Taylor, which is a horror film from 1968. She was in Sunday Bloody Sunday, 1971, which I've heard a lot, but I've never seen. I've never seen that, but I've heard a lot about it. And she's in a film that I have seen and I absolutely loved, though I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea because it's a sort of historical period piece, which is A Passage to India, 1984. And she was in one of the voices in that. Do you remember When the Wind Blows, which was the nuclear film from 1986? She's in that. And then, of course, the other actor that I immediately thought straight away, oh, I know that is, well, we've got John Laurie, who plays the Crofter. He's one of the Crofter where she goes. And it's funny because in there he's wanting his money. She has to pay to stay there. And then he's willing to go and find out there's a reward from the police. So he's a bit of a character. But of course, he is well known for Dad's Army. It's Dad's Army, isn't it, where he plays Fraser. But he did have quite a film career. But it's films that he was really well-known films. Fanny by Gaslight, 1944. Olivia's Henry V, 1944. Hamlet, 1948, which is Olivia. He was in Treasure Island, playing Blind Pew, which is, again, he's a very well-known film, 1950. Hobson's Choice, 1954. John Mills. Richard III, Olivia again, 1955. Kidnapped, 1960, which is again well loved. And then it's nice to know he was in the Reptile Hammer film, 1966, which is brilliant. And he was in, look at this, he was in The Abominable Dr. Phibes, 1971. Vincent Price. Who would have thought Fraser would be in that film? But there we are, because that's how we see it. And also, it was in a Disney film. One of Our Dinosaurs is missing, 1975. But of course, he's so well known. 1968 to 1977, he played Fraser. And Fraser, what a loved character, going, we doomed. He was brilliant in that role. You couldn't help but love Fraser in Dad's Army. What an actor. But to see him in this is just brilliant. And this is really a typical sort of Hitchcock film of that period. You get this Canadian who's his name is Richard Hannay, of course, and he is mistakenly accused of this murder of a counter-espionage agent. And she gets a knife in the back, quite brutal, actually. Hitchcock and his knives. He seemed to have a thing about knives. And off he gets accused, and off he goes on the run. And of course, the bit that I love, because he has to go on a train. He goes on the Flying Scotsman. So we see the Flying Scotsman all the way. He goes up to Scotland because we discovered that this 39 steps is linked with that. It's a sort of what would you describe it as? It's like it's for the agents. It's a sort of a code word and a place that they're supposed to go to, finding out about these traitors, these counter agents, and that's what he gets himself involved in all this. And I think probably a lot of you know the story, and you know, I understand why people do enjoy the 78 version. There's a lot more different scenes as well in it. But this one, if you look at it from its period, 1935, Hitchcock achieved such a lot in the way it's put forward, and I really enjoyed this. You know, I love that sort of feel. The way Hitchcock, even there, you can see the genius of him as a director in this, and this is what kind of made his names doing all these kind of films before he went to Hollywood. So it's an important film, I think, in that sense. And I'm very much loving watching Hitchcock. I have got that box set. I may have even gone through that. I don't know, a long time ago. I can't remember if I did go through the Hitchcock. I think I did review it. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Going back quite a while. But this one wasn't in that box set. But it's always worth watching. As I say, I know people are saying, yeah, the 78 version is good, and it is good. But this one is really good to watch, I think, of that era. I mean, it's 1935, and you look at the direction and what he's doing with the camera, the skills he's using. Hitchcock as well was I noticed he combines location work with studio work. So he liked to work in the studio. It's a well-known fact. He didn't like going out on location, but he would mix those in. It's like driving. You would never see Hitchcock have a camera on a car outside. The driving was always in the studio with the camera on. For some reason, he didn't like doing all that. But there we are.
Although I will say this, Vertigo has Jimmy Stewart, and it looks outside the windscreen when he parks up when is it St. John walks into that house that she's staying in.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
but I know what you're saying, because if you look at North by Northwest, it's always interior shots with the camera, with the movie type stuff done in slit screen in the windows. And all that sort of
but I think films like this are always interesting to see because they're at his beginning of his career. And don't forget, Hitchcock goes back to silent era. He made silent films as well, which is interesting, the way he already was developing his style. And in this
there's an incredible documentary, isn't there, of talking about the film that he did that won all sorts of awards, but the studios in Britain wouldn't actually bring it out, would they? It was almost like they were trying to kibosh his career, which is what forced him to go over to America, really, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it was what he wanted in the end. He wanted Hollywood, and I think he was the kind of character who I think was confident enough with his wife. Of course, his wife should never be left out of this. She was very much part of his career.
How she put up with him, I don't know.
Yeah, the stories we hear about what he was doing on the sets and that have you. Anyhow, I'm not going into that too much, but there are certain things that he's doing. But generally speaking, I just like this sort of period. I just really enjoyed seeing something in the 1930s, 1935. Fantastic film. And that's it. That's my look. There we are. So let's get on with the comments. Let's go. Right. comments.
Yeah, I'll go and check on my mum a little bit later on as well, because she's watching now. She's watching a new quiz show called The Chase Across the World. It's that.
Oh yeah, it's a offshoot with that other thing, isn't it?
Yeah, The Chase.
Yeah.
But that'll keep my mum entertained for a good hour. So.
Yeah. Right.
Then she'll need to go to bed, because I can't have her staying up till 11 and 12 tonight. Jesus.
Right. Okay. So here we are. Right. Okay. First comment is Si. Hello, Si. Evening, gang. And then we've got David saying, "Hi, Deli and chat. The heat is a problem. My car overheated on the way to work tonight. Only 7 miles. Never done it before. Oh God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I take it it's to do with the coolant, I suppose. Then in the car, the radiator coolant. Yeah. You probably had your winter or, because didn't my dad always used to say you have to change the coolant twice a year, once in the summer, once in the winter. It's some old cars, the old Fords and all that, had a switch on the radiator that said winter and spring. Because of all of that. But yeah, I can imagine it. I mean, the funniest thing, because even though I've been around cars a lot of time, and my dad was a mechanic as well, it always amused me that I went over to the States and I had to drive across Death Valley, and it said turn the air conditioning off. I went, bloody hell, 110 degrees. I've got a car, and I've got to drive across this bloody desert, and I can't have the air conditioning on. But it's because your car would overheat.
Yeah.
But, yeah, mental.
Yeah. So we've got Si saying, "Hi, David." Tony saying, "Good evening, Ian, Del, Si, and David." Si saying, "Rest in peace, Sam Neill, such a big loss. What are some of your favourite films of his?" I'll start. He'll always be Damien Thorne to me. That's a really good one, that. I think we did mention quite a few.
Well, I brought up a couple, but I don't think you mentioned probably some of your favourites.
Mine are definitely Dead Calm. I love Dead Calm.
What a great film!
Yeah, and I have to say, I do love the Omen 3. A lot of people put that down as one of the weakest in the whole trilogy. Not for me. I've always enjoyed that last one, because it's like bringing it all together of Damien. And
wow, and the apocalypse will be done through politics, isn't it?
I never count that did a TV one. They did a TV awful thing, number 4, but to me, it's always the trilogy, and that's it. And what a great film. They have done one on the beginning one, which was okay, I think, before the Omen. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. That would be my favorite with him. And I say Dead Calm always stands out. That is such a great performance in there.
He was also great in a TV series that went on for a couple of years, and it was the Tudors.
Oh yes, the Tudors, because
because he was the cardinal, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I mean, I know we mentioned the obvious ones, but Jurassic Park does stand out.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you say? It's just one of those iconic films.
And he was in a John Carpenter film, wasn't he?
Yes. What do they call it? Something in the Mouth.
In the Mouth of Madness, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Yeah. Probably lots more films as you look at them, but a
lot of people don't talk about that film too much.
Yeah, it's a John Carpenter film.
They talk about Prince of Darkness and all of that sort of stuff. I think it was done around the time of the Memoirs of the Invisible Man, somewhere around that era of Carpenter.
Don't talk about. Yeah. All right. So we've got Si saying, "Hi, Mr. York." Oh, we're formal now. And then Tony says, "Was there enough water in the radiator, David?" Oh, yeah, that's the car business. I I just let it cool down, Tony, and just checked, and the water is fine.
It's
Oh, that's
bound
good.
sure to be the. It's actually bound sure to be the coolant. It's the the
Yeah,
stuff that you mix with the water in the radiator. You can't just put water in a radiator anymore.
no. And
You have
David
to have a
said,
litmus. You have to have a litmus paper test.
yeah, just pre-ordered my Beasts Unleashed set from Eureka. Oh, that sounds good. Eureka, pretty good out there. And Tony says, in my opinion, Stallone looked a bit too old for Last Blood. I do have it on DVD. It's okay, but the first will always be the best for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You couldn't say it any better than what Tony just said, really, and that pisses me off because he's a right bastard, really.
There you are. You get the insults.
Right.
So Last Blood, he looks past it, totally past it. Oh dear. Hopefully they won't make any more, because you never know, do you, with these people.
It depends on it depends on whether his tax bills come in.
Yeah. Well, he'll do another Expendables movie, I suppose. He could do one of them. So says Rambo 2 was the first 15 I got into without having to sneak into. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was good sneaking into a 15, a certificate one. And then Tony, what's that, David? Is the set of German fairy tales? Oh, I don't know that. We'll see what he says on that. And then Dope Sub Gaming says, hello everyone. Hello, Dope Sub. And Sai says, I don't sub. And Tony says, I'm looking forward to Eureka's September release of 4 East German Westerns. That's it, yeah. Enjoyed the single release they did a few months ago. Oh, well, that sounds good. East German Westerns. And David says, no, Tony. It's 2 50s monster movies, which I love, in a double bill set from Eureka. Comes out on Monday, £24. I'm very excited. Like it's Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good excitement there. And then Tony says, I don't sub. And then David says, I know the chat don't like them, but I've just ordered Avatar triple bill 4K. Comes tomorrow. I really like them. Well, that's fine. If you like them, that's right.
I'll tell you what, the Avatar triple bill is an interesting one, because I mean, I don't watch him very often, but that mid-movie, whatever it is, Media Matters, was turning around and contemplating that what's the point? Most people will have these already. But you have to remember that not everybody has bought these releases, and when they've come out with a free film deal in a box set, it looked like a really sweet thing to do, and it probably works out really, really well. Because I think all 3 films put together, I think it works out cheaper than buying them separately as steel books for definite. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm so glad that you've picked those up. Trouble that I have with it whenever they do something like this is then they go and ruin it by bringing out a 4th one, and you've got then 3 in a box set, singular one or something, and all that sort of stuff. It really pisses me off when that happens, but there you go.
Yeah, they should wait sometimes. Maybe they should wait if they know they're gonna. But anyhow, and then Tony says, okay, David, not sure I've seen that advertised. And Sai says, I've only seen the first Avatar. It was awesome in 3D. Yes, a lot of people have said that. 3D.
Yeah, I got my first 3D TV and 3D Blu-ray player and bought that, and if I remember rightly, it was initially only released for people that bought it with Panasonic in mind, because there was a sheet of paper inside it that told you how to set up your TV for Panasonics, specifically to be the most optimum picture for 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, you got it as a mail shot when you bought your TV, your 3D Panasonic TV. Yeah, I remember that now. So I've got that. It came in a very eco case. And then of course it came out for everybody, you know what I mean? But that I remember that well, that Avatar release. It made people buy Panasonic TVs.
Did you have to wear some sort of glasses with it again?
Yeah. If the Panasonic TV, your Panasonic would be set for, because it's Panasonic, they would have done either shutter or, active or non-active.
Yeah.
And because it was the early days of 3D, there was only active. So you had to have glass, you had to have the glasses with the battery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the batteries, not the passive ones that you get in the movie theaters.
Yeah. And then we got Tony saying, I saw the first Avatar. I know it has spectacular effects, but not something I'd rush to watch again, to be honest. I can't imagine it. I can imagine it'll look great in 4K. I'm sure it does. I'm kind of on that opinion with you, Tony. But there we are. And then Don't Subgamer says, can I ask, Delboy Spider-Man question that I found no answer to? And what is that question?
That's all right. We'll get to it.
Okay, I'll carry on then. I was just going to jump ahead and find it. Tony says, speaking of Sam Neill, has anyone seen his first film role, Sleeping Dogs? Oh, 1977. I can recommend it. It's set in a near future, dystopian New Zealand, suffering oil shortages and its associated consequences. This brings about a fascist-style government and results in a type of civil war. Well, that's a great description.
The ITN News did a sort of like mini. His first was this, and then he went on to do this and all of that. So they did mention that title specifically. So,
And then David says, when they announced Sam Neill's death on the radio the other day, they recommended watching this. The Dish, yes, Del. You mentioned that a few weeks ago. Yes, I remember. We talked about The Dish, haven't we?
One of my favourite films, The Dish.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought having a great big massive dish in the middle of a paddock field?
Yeah.
And they were honing everything on this dish to actually give the pictures broadcast from the moon on the damn thing. And of course, on the day that they were landing, there was a great big bloody storm.
That's right, yeah.
But what was really funny, because it's quite a funny film, was they got a person turn up from America, turn up at their town, and he got off the plane and they played the Hawaii Five-O music.
That's
and they
right.
said it was supposed to be the American national anthem. And the bloke got off and he said, actually, I prefer that over the national anthem. It's that sort of funniness that's in it.
Yeah.
There's also this guy with a walkie-talkie that bugs everybody. He's always doing the security check.
Yeah. No, Sai says Sam Neill was great in Hunt for the Wilder People. Very underrated film. I've not seen that one. I don't know that one.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. And then Tony says, I haven't seen much Magnum PI. I watched it occasionally when first broadcast. I'm the same, really. I've not seen much Magnum PI. And then here we have do you
want me to do the answer before this question?
Yeah.
So the Magnum PI, it was a season 5 episode, I think around episode 14 or 15. It was a 2-parter. It starts off with a Porsche driving along the road, and the actress that was in the car was Sharon Stone.
Ah, right.
And the music that was playing was Vangelis's Blade Runner. And I was going, this is a weird start to a Magnum episode. I mean, you've got a piece of music ripped totally from a film from 2 years ago, and you've got Sharon Stone in it. Who was sort of like not heard of because she hadn't been in anything quite right yet. You know what I mean? She was a little bit like Kim Cattrall, Sharon Stone. She turned up in a lot of things. Kim Cattrall was in the Hulk TV series. You know, she was in a lot of things. She was in Logan's Run, I think, the TV series. I think one episode or something. You know, it was definitely a science fiction thing she was in. She just turned up everywhere, Kim Cattrall, didn't she? She was in an episode of Columbo. She was in the one that was about Citizen Kane, wasn't it? It was the murder that had Rosebud as the password. Rosebud. The dogs went mental.
Yeah.
Because it proved that two dogs could be set up to kill, and you know, by a code word. Yeah. So that was quite good.
Yeah. So this is this sub gaming question. It says, why is it that whatever city Spider-Man lives in, why aren't people annoyed at him leaving webs everywhere when he swings around the city? Does someone follow behind him to remove them line by line? There's your question.
And he hasn't found the answer to that. But it's quite easy, actually. From the very time of around about the first 3 or 4 comics, it was mentioned that he invented his web shooters and the web formula, and he made it that it was as strong as steel, but it disintegrated after an hour. So, of course, when he's swinging around after an hour later,
it could end up...
It would disappear into nothingness.
Yeah.
There was even a story where he was set up for murder because he webbed somebody up on the wall and covered his mouth, but the webbing went up his nose as well, and he suffocated, and he was put up for murder. But yeah, that's not. And then of course in the films, the Sam Raimi films, the webbing is organic. So of course it would degenerate over time. So I'm surprised you couldn't find the answer to that one. It's quite well known, really. The thing I liked about Marvel, and some people have asked me this question, and I've sometimes given an answer, was that the thing I liked about Stan Lee is that he set everything in cities that have got proper names. DC was always Gotham City and Metropolis. Spider-Man swung around New York. You know, the X-Men were from New York. You had Wolverine that was Canadian. All of this sort of stuff. And it had and the very early issues always turned around and said the action that could be right outside your window is what Stan Lee wanted to portray. So really, because it was set in New York, you could look out your window one day and Spider-Man could be swinging past your apartment building window. And that must have been pretty exciting for kids.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you get excited that Batman might be around if he lives in Gotham City and you live in New York? Right. So, yeah, it got me excited. And of course, later on, I learned that many of the scenes that are in these comics, they actually featured places that are in that city, you know, like the Chrysler building and the Baxter building and all of those sort of things, you know. And they even had the World's Fair, you know, that big world with the, you know, with the Global where the science fair was supposed to be. That's now pretty much a dead place to go and see in New York. But that was a big event, and I went, wow, is that a place in New York? And I found out later on that it was.
Yeah,
it's that sort of thing. So they were drawing pictures of real world places, you know. So that's what drew me to Marvel, you know, and the fact that my dad bought me my first comic, you know.
Yeah. So Tony says, no corner yet again. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Tony. It's the Tony York corner. I'm sure it might pop up again sometime, but we'll see.
Of course it bloody will. He'll be sending about 4 boxes of bloody films to you. He's probably packaging it up now. He's probably got the tape out ready to send off.
And then Sai says, I watched RoboCop the other day, and I honestly think it's the best Western that isn't a Western, if you get what I mean. Are there any films that make you think that? That's an interesting question.
Well, Outland does, doesn't it? You've already mentioned it.
Oh yeah,
Outland.
we talk about Outland. We love Outland.
But I'll tell you a film that doesn't work very well, and I'll probably get slammed down for this. But there's that film with Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford in it. Is it called Westerns? That's some Cowboys versus Aliens.
Oh, Cowboys versus Aliens. Yeah,
right. Which I don't think works as a science fiction film or a western.
Yeah, it's one of those films that if you go into a charity shop, you might well see that. For some reason, it's got the cheapy bin feel on it. And I think you're right. Actually, does it really work as a film? I don't know.
Well, it's based on a comic.
Yeah.
But like The Walking Dead is a comic and all of that sort of stuff, right?
Do you know what?
I just don't think it works on either level.
I just don't think it was a very exciting film. And it should be.
It had this weird thing where you saw lights in the sky and then they were picking people up and carrying them up in the air. And I thought that all looked all right. But then it was weird. He had this thing on his arm and he was tracking stuff. And I was going, well it doesn't work to me. I mean, even that Doctor Who episode with Matt Smith did a better story of a Western with a robot in it than that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't think it works on the level that they wanted it to be, because I think people went in going confused, going, what are you trying to be, a Western or a science fiction, rather than trying to merge the two together and come up with some new thing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
it just didn't work on either. I just think it didn't work on either level. Of course, the performances were a bit lackluster as well.
Yeah, that's what I remember that. I have got it. I think I picked it up cheap. But weren't that impressed with it. It's just okay. It was, if I'm desperate for something to watch, I might just stick it on. But
how can you be desperate for something to watch with Tony York Corner?
Not normally. I'll end up watching the same films that I normally watch. There's certain films that you watch over and over again, no matter what. I'm shall I watch that again? Oh, go on, treat myself. Oh dear. Right, and then we've got here Don't Subside Talking Music. I bought myself a Jeff Lynne t-shirt this week. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Tony says, saw Dustin Hoffman going into Wimbledon a few days ago in YouTube video. He looks good for his age. Well, that's good to see. I'm glad he's looking okay. And then Si says, has anyone seen... we're talking about this tuner. It's Dustin Hoffman's latest film. It's about a piano tuner who gets involved with a criminal gang who makes him crack safes for them. It is good, isn't it? I love it. We've both seen it, haven't we?
Well, we were talking about it because
I
brought it up because you actually mentioned it in my blog comments.
Yeah.
And I read it out.
Yeah.
So I just thanked you and said, did you like the tune? I got an inkling that you thought it was good. And then you were saying, you like the idea that it was a different type of story.
Yes.
Rather than the performances, didn't you? You said the performances were good, but it's Dustin Hoffman's a sort of a secondary character in it.
He's not in it enough, you feel, in it. But I liked it because it's a refreshing take. It's something new. It's a new idea, and I like that. And
it'll be one I'm going to buy. Don't get me wrong, because I really liked it.
Yeah,
but I must admit, you can tell it's a sort of second tier, not an AAA film title type thing. But you don't need to be like that. I remember when I was watching Tom Selleck films like Quigley Down Under and let's see, what's that film where he's a book writer and he thinks he's going to be murdered by this strange Russian woman. What was it called? Dead something or other. Anyway, and of course, An Innocent Man. They were all at the pictures, but they were classed as being very low budget compared to the big releases like Batman and all of those sort of titles. You went to the cinema just because that week there wasn't a big release. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they ended up being, but they weren't no straight to video, what they used to call straight to video films.
Yeah.
But they had limited runs, just like Si's talking about there.
That's right. Yeah. I'd say though, it's better than sort of Netflix kind of slop that they've been producing. It's definitely better than that. It doesn't feel like it's another Netflix movie that they're just shoving out. It's got a bit more to it than that, and I think that's why I liked it. I'm not saying it's the greatest film ever, but on the other hand, it was entertaining, and you could watch it again. And I thought the idea was a good idea about sound. You know, the idea about the sound was really
using sound to crack saves.
Yeah. So for me, that elevated it. You know, because there's so much bad stuff that you do come across nowadays, and you know, some of the Netflix stuff is just awful. I think, you know, it's just substandard, but that wasn't definitely. And then Tony says didn't know he was still acting, to be honest. Yes, he must still be popping up now and again, you know, which is good, but maybe, you know, a nice bit of retirement. But they don't always want to be fair. It's only got a small limited release. Yeah. In
fact, the first time I saw it, I thought it was something like a Netflix film.
Oh, listen to this comment now. Dot Sub says this happens. Fair enough. Says I can't stand Dustin Hoffman. I have to turn off anything if he's in it. I'm sure it's a nice. He's a nice guy. But he's one actor I can't bet. Well, that happens.
Yeah.
There are some actors we just don't like.
That's in real life.
Yeah.
Ian.
Oh, IRL. Right. Oh, in real life. Oh, sorry. See, I didn't know what I asked. I don't know much about him in real life. I don't know.
I haven't heard nasty things. I've heard he's I've heard he's a very generous guy when it comes to working with him, you know, as in screen time and all of that sort of stuff. But I don't know anything about his personal life, whether he's been married to the same woman for 30 years or any of that. I don't really know.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to dig up stuff. Nothing would surprise me about when he was young. But, you know, sort of graduate era, they might be thinking, oh, he was a so-and-so then when he first became a big star and did this and that. I don't know. But it's a different time. I always say it. And, you know, there's a lot of people that we would think.
He was, I remember a film that was very strange with him. Was it called Hero? Where he survives a plane crash.
I've not seen that one.
And he rescues Gina Davis off the plane, who was on there. She was getting an award or something, but he wasn't really a hero. He was this sort of like down and out guy that was trying to do things for his son type thing.
Yeah.
And, I think over here it was called Accidental Hero, but in America it was called Hero, I think.
Yeah.
That was a weird film because he was a scummy sort of bloke, but really he was trying to show that his dad was a superhero type thing, you know. And he for some unknown reason he was considered the hero of this plane crash because he got people off the plane. And there's Gina Davis
in Midnight Cowboy.
Davis news columnist type thing made a big thing about him or something.
Perhaps he's good at playing scummy characters. If you say that,
very similar to Rizzo type thing. You know?
Right. Oh, did anyone see the trailer for Digger? It looks absolutely batshit. Oh dear, crazy! I predict it may get Tom Cruise the Oscar for his performance. I've not seen it. If he might get one eventually? Who knows? Batshit. That makes it sound interesting.
Have you ordered Eyes Wide Shut on 4K yet?
No, I am not yet. No, I don't know whether I will yet. You know, I have to wait. I have to be later on. Yeah. And then not seen its eye. What's it about? And then he says, a multi-billionaire accidentally causes the end of the world. Oh, accidentally.
Yeah, accidentally my ass.
Yes.
Right, billionaires. That's what they want to do. They want to be megalomaniacs, don't they?
The Elon Musk. Well,
Yeah.
yes.
That's why he wants to. That's why he wants to build so many bloody rockets so he can bloody leave the place and
blow up the
blow
world.
us all up when he goes.
And then Tony says, "Sounds familiar. Orange Man, anybody? Oh, the Trump blowing the world up. Yeah." And then with a mixture of Musk as well. Yeah, that William Musk had to get in. Tony says, I never like to think about him. At least Orange Man gives you a laugh, but Musk is just plain creepy. Yeah, actually, that may well be true. And then, ha ha ha, as I says. And then Tony says, Shatter had a recent release in one of those smaller boxes from Harrod, did it? Oh,
yeah. Do you remember? I showed it on here. I bought it. At the time where you were talking about Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. Remember, I told you Shatter was set in the same place in this Hong Kong, and I think that they must have had a three-film deal.
That's what I mentioned. The deal. They had a deal, a 2-film deal.
But it was really weird because it was sort of like a sort of a cop in a Hong Kong type environment.
Yeah.
You know, and it had Peter Cushing in that as well.
Yeah. It's part of the deal. Yeah. And then Tony says, I have that Francis Drake series on Network. Oh, Network did it DVD. It's one of those 50s historical series from ITC.
Hey, don't start saying Network. You know, if you say that several times, somebody will come in this room. You know it's going to happen.
Actually, to be fair, we haven't heard from him.
He hasn't actually done any videos for a month.
The Las Vegas one was the last one, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, well, I think he also did a couple after that, didn't he?
Did he?
He might have done one or something. He said he was gonna. He did say he was going to take a break, but then I haven't heard from him, and he hasn't.
Yeah, maybe he's taking a break. Yeah, he's possibly taking a break. That's why we've not heard from him. Yeah, but don't mention Network. Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying. We'll have never-ending story in the end, no ending bloody time.
Tony says, yes, I do very much enjoy the 1978 39 Steps. I knew you did, yeah. I think a lot has to do with its correct pre-World War I setting as depicted in Buchan's novel. Never seen the Hitchcock version. Saw the 1950s, of course, there's Kenneth More one as well, yeah. I do like the 78 version, I must admit. But
yeah, that's got that bloke in it. What's his name?
It's Robert
Got curly hair. He was in that other film called Asphyx that I was telling you about.
Robert Powell.
Robert Powell, that's it.
Yeah, it's Robert Powell. Yeah. It's a good version. I do like it myself, but you know, I like to watch Hitchcock. It's always good to watch Hitchcock.
It's all amazing what you learn about things, because I didn't understand why it was called the 39 Steps.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember, but of course, when you watch all of the films, you learn it's about the steps, Big Ben and that, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what you learn, isn't it? Really,
it is, yeah. And it's interesting that a film like that has carried on in a way that they made more, the remakes that they made of it. They must have thought the story had a lot in it that was worth repeating and filming again. And this is interesting. So I went to see Evil Dead Burn. I had fun. It has a great style of cinematography to it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because Commode didn't like it at all. He said that it missed the point, really, on the fact that Sam Raimi always made the first one out to be a comedy, yet it was lambasted for being, and listed as a video nasty, even though you could tell it was total comedy. So the second one proved that point, and the third one didn't know quite where to go, is what he said. And then he started talking about Evil Dead. Is it Rise? And then it's Evil Dead Burn, isn't there?
Yeah.
And, they just said in the Evil Dead Burn, you've got the sequences sort of the same as Evil Dead, with the camera going across, towards the cabin and all of that sort of stuff. But it seems like there's no humor in it. It's very much a gory film that's not scary.
Yeah.
So it's without the humor, therefore it's a nothing thing. Personally, me, I'm going to see it and make my own conclusion. I don't care what anybody says about something.
I think everybody should do that.
So I'm glad that Cy went to see a film and he had great fun, because isn't that what you want?
Well, you're not going to
spend money on something that going to, And I do think some critiquing people, they just take it too far.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I mean, Commode doesn't do it quite this way every time, because he usually does say, this is my opinion, right? But there's so many out there that just slate it and make it out that what I say is the gospel truth. So don't bother, right? Where he will turn around and say, look, I like this, but the reason I didn't like this one is because of this, which is just an indication that that's just me. And I'm sure there's going to be a group of people that will love it. Because he said that the same about Supergirl. He said it just wasn't for me. Because this one person in the review of Supergirl actually turned around and said, I liked it. And he said, I'm so glad that you went to the film and you saw it and you liked what you saw. But he actually said that. He said, but for me, it didn't work because of this. You see what I mean? I like it when people critique like that. I don't like it when they make it out that what I say goes.
It's the view. That is
it.
Yeah.
Which and there's so many people out there on YouTube land at the moment that just want to jump on the bandwagon of this is shit.
Down.
Don't bother going to watch it. If you do watch it, then basically you're an idiot, is what they're sort of like making me feel. And I'm going, how dare you call me an idiot just because I want to go and see this film?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't like that.
It becomes a fashionable thing to do,
Yeah.
It's like the Spielberg film. You kind of knew that there were going to people who would be deliberately just slagging it off. They really were,
Yeah.
It was like, it was predictable. They're kind of predictable people. You know what they're going to do. And they're going to slag all these films off. That's what they're going to do.
I do get, though, some people's interpretation where they will turn around and say, and I totally agree with this, how can somebody like Steven Spielberg, that gave us such special effects like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, come out with such crappy special effects on these animals that are in it? They look like somebody drew it with a pen on the screen.
That doesn't make sense.
Awful.
It's like, how could he have missed
that can knock you out of the film experience.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, because you think to yourself, you would have thought he was a perfectionist.
Yeah,
but clearly he's not. Or a mistake. He can't be a mistake. Yeah.
Well, or it could be. And this is what I said to, because I mean, I know the person that said that, and I totally agreed with him. I did turn around and say that it could be budget, but it could also be a new technical effect that they're trying to perfect. Like when Monsters Inc. came out, right? Mm-hmm. What Pixar were trying to do in that film was do hair for the first time, to make fur look like fur. Right? So you've got and the special effect that people keep talking about in that Steven Spielberg film is a town fox. Is they might have tried to do fur in celluloid with a CGI fox. Do you see what I mean? And it just didn't work out, because you can see the outline, or you can see that it just sticks out like a sore thumb because they got the color palette wrong, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
All I'm saying to that is, it sounds unlikely that Spielberg would stick something in that wasn't something that was trying to pioneer or move something forward.
Yeah.
Because obviously you could do things like make things look like a mirror finish and silver and gold and all of this sort of stuff. That's now perfected. But trying to make something look like it's got real fur, that might have been hard to do, and that's what he tried to do. Because with a Tyrannosaurus Rex, it's again lizard skin. It's not proper skin like us with fur coming out of our faces and all of this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? You know.
And then Tony said, I think this is in reference to the 1950s Kenneth More 39 Steps, which is continued. And he was not keen on the Kenneth More one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Tony says, I think you'd probably enjoy Inn of the Six Happiness. Yeah, I mentioned that. I've not seen it. You mentioned with Robert Donut, Ian. It has Ingrid Bergman as a missionary. Oh, in China in the 1930s, caught up in the war with Japan. Yeah, it does sound interesting, that. Yeah, the war with Japan. We've come across that quite a bit before. Yeah. And then the Slipknot says, good evening, Si, Tony, David. Good evening, anyhow, Slipknot. Welcome. And then Si says, I'm 80. And then, hi, Slipknot, Tony says. And David says, it's too hot to have a fanny of my gaslight, Ian. Thanks for the offer, but I'm celibate.
He's put celibrat.
Yeah.
It's funny because the comment that was before from Si, it said, hi, matey. I don't know what it is, but he mentioned matey, and I instantly what came to mind was a bottle of soap that you used to have on the side of your bath called matey.
Oh.
Do you remember that? It was sort of like in a bottle shaped like a sailor.
I don't remember that.
So
I remember tar soap, that awful smelling block of soap that they had. They called it tar soap, didn't they? It was made of tar soap.
Oh, right. We had oil of Olay or whatever it was.
Horrible stuff.
And it used to have a sticker in the center of your bar of soap with oil of Olay on it, and it used to slide off.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh dear.
But we used to have molded containers like Batman and Superman to put in your shower and your bath.
That's right. The salt was like...
matey was a sailor.
Yeah. Yeah, they were quite a thing, the bubble bath things, weren't they? Yeah, that you put in.
I don't know why I thought about that. It's just that came to mind when he said matey.
I'm surprised somebody didn't collect them and be showing them off.
I bet you there's somebody out there that has. I'll tell you a secret. In the 70s, my dad bought me one of those plaster of Paris kits. Do you know the ones with the molds?
Yeah, I remember those.
And you used to paint them, and they did Planet of the Apes and all of these sort of ones. Right?
Yeah.
And they did a Marvel one, with Spider-Man and the Hulk and all of that sort of stuff. The molds always perished after a while,
Yeah.
I haven't seen those plaster kits for years.
Yeah.
Right. I remember a couple of years ago, I looked for them and went, "Oh, I wonder if toy manufacturers still make a 21st century version of it." There's jelly molds, molds for making jelly, with Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But there's no plaster of Paris molds anymore.
Oh.
Although the last one I think that came out was a Batman one. It was the animated series or something. And I went, I wonder if they've got them on eBay then. And I looked on eBay, nobody's selling any of them. And I
No,
thought,
they must have
did I
totally
did I
gone.
dream this? Because
No.
I'm pretty sure they did no end. They did Planet of the Apes and Marvel and DC and all of these like like He-Man ones and all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff. All famous like cartoons like the Banana Splits or whatever it is. And I'm sure they all came out in a mold of some form that you used to do plaster of Paris, and you got paints with the plaster of Paris kits and you painted them afterwards and all of this sort of stuff. And I don't see them anymore. I don't know what happened to them. But it's a shame. I should think if you bought them on eBay, the molds would have been split anyway. Some bright spark will have put "never opened." When you open it up, it'd perish to death. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember when I had them, you had to get the water and the plaster of Paris right, because if you put it into the mold, and you'd find that the top, it didn't go in the top quite correctly, and there'd be a bit missing or something, and you'd go, bollocks! Look. I haven't done this one right. I'll have to do it again. And you only got a certain amount of plaster of Paris, and you then pestered your dad to say, "Can you get me some plaster of Paris from somewhere?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your dad. This is where things were a different time of the. Well, I don't know if people remember this, but most people in a town or a village or whatever had an ironmonger's. Right?
Yeah.
And in an ironmonger's, you could go in there and you could say, "Can I have one 10-inch nail, please?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can I have a 9-inch? Now you go into bloody B&Q or something. You got to buy a bag of 25 of them.
Yeah, you couldn't get one. No,
you can't get one. Yeah. You couldn't go in there and just say, "Can I have a 5 panel pins, please?" You got to buy bloody bags of 100 or something, right?
That's
and you
right.
wanted it to do this little thing. Terrible. It's a shame that the things like ironmongers died out.
Yeah, and cobblers. Repair your shoes and things.
Well, my dad did have a shoe repair machine, right, which had one of those bristle wheels for polishing and all that sort of stuff and all of that. And he had the horn, with the shoe horn, with the where he would.
I remember cobblers quite a bit because people couldn't afford. It was cheaper to go to.
Well, if you bought leather shoes, you then went to you went to someone like a shoe repairer, and he would actually put leather bottoms underneath your shoes.
Yeah,
and I think was it Timpson was the last people that used to do shoe repairs? Timpson, the people that make keys.
I remember Timpson. Yeah, I don't know if they were the last. It could well have been, but I suspect they've died out totally. There may be some village or something.
We've got a Timpson that's built in our Sainsbury's here.
Yeah, cobblers. Who knows? There might be somewhere some that has past time. It's still there. I don't know. Who knows? Everything's disposable nowadays. We chuck things away. We don't repair them. And then we're laughing at this Fanny by Gaslight. Yeah.
Fanny by Gaslight.
It always amuses me as a title. Because you said Fanny, yes, but I'm celibate until winter. Oh, right. Matron. Yes, matron. And then why do certain words turn me into a 12-year-old boy? Well, it does happen. Memories.
Well, yeah. But it's been brought up a number of times, hasn't it? Because over in the States they call them fanny packs, don't we? We go, what? You can't say that over here, fanny pack. Bloody hell.
Doesn't fanny mean bottoms in America?
Bottom, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a totally different thing, isn't it?
See, they've got, their pants are trousers.
Oh, yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't say pants like we do, yeah.
Because that's what I used to call that's what I used to call our meetings at work all the time, because we used to have something called team brief, right? And I used to call them team pants. Like briefs, you see, briefs. Yeah. And I went team pants because it's shit.
Oh. Oh dear. Oh right.
It's amazing. It is amazing, though, isn't it? The English language. It's why I like Ronnie Barker so much,
Yeah.
and
The,
the four candles sketch. But
yeah.
he always turned around and said, and he actually publicly stated this. I never liked the end of that sketch because it says at the end, doesn't it? Bill hooks.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And I think a lot of people don't understand what bill hooks are because what he meant was bollocks.
Yeah.
It was bill hooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he actually came up with. He said years later, I came up with a much better ending. Can't remember what it was now. But anyway, sorry, I'm digressing a bit.
And then Ian, who do you want to win the World Cup now that England have chickened out?
Chickened out.
Oh God. I don't want Argentina to win it. I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
I will turn around and say that I want Spain to win. Now.
That's right. That's what I would. I think anything but Argentina. I know it sounds terrible, but they really get on your nerves, Argentina. And when they're playing, it's all part of their style. They don't like us, and we don't like them.
And the only thing that I can say about the match before that, which is the third and fourth place part of the World Cup, which is England versus France, is it's the only way that our England manager can get away with any type of recompense for what he did in that game, because that last 30 minutes destroyed absolutely everything that had built up to that point. So if he goes in there and he goes out there and does a fantastic thing against France, maybe he'll come away with a bit of something. Otherwise, if he comes away and loses that game as well, you just got to just turn around and go, they just went in there and didn't give a shit anyway, because it was who wants to be remembered as third or fourth anyway?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody remembers the third.
You know what I mean?
You can argue nobody remembers the runner-up either.
No,
it's only the winner. The winner takes all.
Well, all of this money just so you can have a little star above your symbol as well, isn't it? Look, we've won the World Cup once or twice or three times, or like Brazil 5 times or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I think Argentina are going in as protecting their, because they are the world champions at the moment, aren't they? They actually won the World Cup last 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're going in to defend their. That's why I want Spain to win.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Bollocks to them, and all of that political stuff with that flag in the center of the with that slogan saying the Falkland Islands are ours.
All that stuff. Yeah.
Doesn't
try to make it political.
The sport doesn't need any of that crap.
Yeah. Right. Tony says, I'm halfway through the new Eureka release of Oh, What a Lovely War. Yeah, not a musical fan, but it's more than that. With some biting satire, on the absurdity of World War I in particular, but which equally applies. Yeah, I've heard people. Oh, it's to all wars. On the surface, I'm thinking, would I like that? But it is wasn't
that a theatre production? Oh, What a Lovely War that turned into a film.
It possibly was, yeah. But it's because it's Attenborough's favourite. It's a big favourite film. It's his first one he directed. It's well thought of as a satire. It is a satire, and I think you're right. In fact, it may well have its origins are probably from the theatre. I suspect that. I may be wrong there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did start off in the theatre. Yeah, definitely.
I'm just guessing, but I think it was. I know it's a book. obviously,
Yeah. Right. Slipknot says here, the heat is insane. It is. It's ridiculous. Terrible. And think with modern cars, you keep the same coolant in year round. Never had mine changed in the 5 years I've had it. All right.
Yeah, I just remember my
yeah.
dad used to say there was spring coolant and winter coolant. I
Yeah.
think you could probably get something that's all year round, but you are supposed to change it every 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
There is definitely a litmus test that you do.
Yeah. And there he is. He's saying, cheers for the long overdue shout out, Del.
I mention you every week.
Yeah.
I mention you every week, you deaf bastard. How's that? And with that, I'm going to go and check on my mum because it's 10 o'clock. I'll be back in a bit.
And then Tony says, I read somewhere Stallone is producer on a forthcoming Rambo film dealing with his early life. I heard that. I don't know. I suppose he's milking it again, but they'll obviously get another actor in to play a younger version. I don't know. I don't know what to feel about it, to be honest. But it would. I suppose it. Yeah, might be interesting. And then we've got Si saying, "Have you seen that there's a biopic of the early years of Sylvester Stallone? It covers the years he wrote Rocky. The film is called I Play Rocky. Really? Yeah. Well, there we are. That'd be interesting. And then Si says, yeah, Tony, Noah Centina is playing the young Rambo. Ah, right. So that's interesting. It might be good. Might be good. I hope it is, he says, I've never heard of him. Not much, I haven't. He sounded good, didn't it? It sounded impressive. And then Si says, to be fair, neither have I. Yeah. And then Tony says, glad it's not just me, don't worry. And then Slipknot says, do you guys ever watch cinematic trailers for video games? They're like mini movies. I've seen some great ones for Elder Scrolls and World of Warcraft, Shadowlands. Well, the person to ask, I'm not a gamer, so I don't. But he might do. He might watch cinematic trailers for video games. What's your opinion about that?
Oh, right. Yeah, anyway, I've just come back because my mum said I want another cup of tea before I go to bed and told me to go away because she was watching the end of The Chase.
All right.
So I'll go back in 15 minutes. Yeah. But what do I think about cinematic trailers for video games? I generally only see them when they do a big event, like there's an announcement, a show that says these are the games that are coming out in 2026 or something, and they show you the latest trailer for Grand Theft Auto or the next big release that's coming out for Kingdom Come Deliverance or that sort of stuff. And they're always interesting, but I think they tried to do the Hollywood approach. Do you know what I mean? It's like the big spectacle of, wow, look how our graphics look and all of this sort of stuff, rather than entice you to want the game because of the game looks exciting. Do you see what I mean? Because I think most people now recognize that graphics these days are always going to look good. If they're going to spend 60 quid on a game, then it better be bloody looking good.
Yeah.
It better look almost photorealistic. Do you see what I mean? If you're asking 60 quid from me for it, but losing the whole point that a game is supposed to be a game. I don't want to watch an interactive movie. That's where I have a bit of a problem with AAA games at the moment, because they're more like watching a movie where at some point it stops and says, what do you want to do now? Do you want to answer the question this way, answer the question that way. And then there might be a 10-minute action sequence, and then it'll be a big set of cutscenes. They call them cutscenes before you get to the next bit. And after a while, you find out, I've just watched this for an hour and a half, and all I've done is pick up the joystick once for 10 minutes. What? I might as well, it's almost, I might as well have watched a film. Well, that isn't a game then, is it? So, yeah, I enjoy some of them. I think some of them really do get me quite excited. But like anything, I'm starting to like more what they call indie games at the moment. These indie games are done by people that have developed a game in their own bedroom and tried to publish it themselves. Do you see what I mean? Or it's 4 people that have got together to do something, rather than a whole building filled with graphic artists, musicians, and they've got all together and they've spent 4 billion on it, and it's going to be coming out in the summer, and they're hoping that everybody's going to buy it. You know what I mean? Because they don't impress me. I'm more impressed with the one that has got the gameplay in it. You know what I mean? That costs next to nothing. Because that'll entertain me more than something that's going to take me 100 hours to complete. And it's only going to take 100 hours to complete because there's so much story that I've got to watch. I might as well be watching the bloody film of it. That's my little rant over. So, but a lot of games these days are like that. You might as well just be watching an interactive film.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know much about gaming. Does that make you want to play older games more?
Yeah. But the reason that my everything I've got, basically says retro zone, is because I grew up when computers were just becoming popular for you to have in your own home. In fact, you had to tell your mum and dad, oh, please get me a computer from Dixon's or Curry's because it allowed me do my homework.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you had to bug them to give you a tape player so that you could actually record your record your saves on it and all that sort of stuff. And you had to take up the aerial socket of your telly, which meant that if you didn't have a portable in your room, you had to wait until nobody was watching the telly for you to actually do anything on it, and all of that sort of stuff. So of course there's a nostalgia point of view.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't come from that age like we are now, where you just switch something on and instantly you're presented with, like a tablet. You're in an operating system and you go to a shop and you buy for 59 pence Tetris and all of that sort of stuff. Tetris to me was on a small handheld called a Nintendo Game Boy. You know what I mean? And the reason Tetris was loved, especially in our family, was because even my dad could play it. He weren't computer literate at all.
Yeah.
But even he could understand that you turn things round and then you drop it down, and you got to make it so that there are no gaps, and and the shapes are all coming down at different speeds and all of that. Even he understood it. But the one that my first girlfriend's mother liked was a game called Boulder Dash. And it starred a little character called Rockford. And you had to pick up the diamonds in this cave and get out. But you dug earth away and there were boulders. And if you dug the earth away, it would land on your head.
Yeah.
So you had to work out, how am I going to get to this other diamond over there, because all of these boulders are going to land on my head if I dig the earth away. And you had to work out how to get there. But you also had to do it in a time limit. So of course, girls like that because there was no bloke involved. It was a flea in a cave called Rockford, and you were doing something that everybody can understand. I've got a puzzle. I'm starting here. I've got to get over here, and in that time, I've got to pick up 24 diamonds and have no boulders land on my head. So, of course, you don't need to have a game called Barbie, or whatever it is, to make it so that girls like it, as long as you made it generic that everybody could like it. Because space games and shoot 'em ups, they all seem to be geared towards boys.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Even like Call of Duty, and all that, a war, in the First World War, it was mostly men that went to war. Do you see what I mean? So there's very little out there for girls. So, there weren't many games that my family would like as much, like me. I like them all. It was me with the excitement. I grew up knowing that TV was something that I watched, but if I plugged this device in, I suddenly controlled the TV.
Yeah. Didn't they do any sort of female warriors? You've got like equivalent to Arnie. Didn't they do any sort of female?
Oh yeah, they had games like Sheena of the Jungle or something.
Oh right, yeah.
And boys would buy those games, but only to see a pixelated woman trying to jump over jungle things and all that sort of stuff, and going, "Oh yeah, look, she's got a bra on," or whatever it is, because you were an adolescent boy and you didn't know anything else. But I mean, the amount of people that must have bought Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, of course, right? That one. Yeah, I forgot
because she had big boobs and an ass that stuck out like this.
Yeah,
right. But you forgetting the fact that you were a bloke controlling a girl. Boys still played the game. Girls played it because it was a heroine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that they could look up to.
Yeah.
So Tomb Raider was very successful. If you think about it, the blokes were just buying it and saying, "Oh, look, isn't Tomb Raider's tits look great?" Lara Croft, her name is.
But, that's right. Yeah.
You look back at it and you go, they were very pointy. I remember that. Their boobs were very pointy. That's because graphics hadn't reached the finesse that they are now. But yeah, it's funny. It's the reason things are in the news at the moment is because we're going to lose a lot of these memories if we go down this digital route, like streaming the films, because what we're actually agreeing to is that when you buy the film, you don't actually buy it, you're leasing it. And if you wanted to get rid of it, there's no shop that you can take it to because it's not physically on your shelf. So you can't pass it down. If I die, then the passwords die with me to my account. And therefore I can't pass them on to anybody.
Whereas if you've got a box with something in it,
you've got a box with a disc and you've got the machine itself.
Right.
You can, anybody in your family can pick it up after you're dead and say, "There you are, look, you got a games console out of it from your uncle, whatever it is." You know what I mean? Can't do that with digital, can you?
No.
So I'm still very, very big on physical media. Films, games, music, all of that sort of stuff. Spotify hasn't taken away people buying vinyl. So why is it that games have suddenly got to get rid of totally physical media? Why? Anyway, that's my rant over with that.
No, I think there has been generally a backlash against it.
Oh yeah,
most people are
huge one
against it.
This will run and run and run in the same way that AI does.
Yeah,
I'm sick of hearing that word AI as well.
Yeah,
drives me bonkers.
Yeah. David said, "Oh, I watched The Menu on Film 4 a couple of weeks ago. Enjoyed it. Yeah, I've seen The Menu. I thought it was a good film. Very good film. Have you seen The Menu?"
What? Yeah, I ordered I ordered
There
a
we
big
go.
breakfast with a pot of tea,
Yeah.
and I was well happy with the price that it was just under a tenner. I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. Yeah, I like the crumpets. Prefer
The menu on Film
it.
4. I like Film 4. I can't remember the film The Menu though. When was it? Oh,
Oh,
it was a couple of weeks ago. Is that one of their older films that they're showing, or was that one of their newer films that they're showing in their summer?
I saw it quite a while ago. It was a download. I saw it on. I thought it was quite good. Yeah, yeah.
I
And it's
can't
on.
remember it anyway.
Wait a minute. I
I will
think it
say that.
might be on. I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
Sure, it is. I think it's on Disney Plus. Yeah. Yeah.
but it's on Film 4 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it must be
yeah.
5 plus
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Then, or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good film. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's a horror kind of film as well, which is good. And then Si says, when I first watched The Menu, I couldn't resist going for a cheeseburger afterwards. Yeah, it's the ending when you see her eating that cheeseburger. You can, oh yeah, you just fancy a nice cheeseburger after that. It's lovely. Oh yeah, and yeah, I forgot also Ralph Fiennes was robbed of an Oscar nomination for his performance in The Menu. Yeah, I agree.
It's got me intrigued now that Ralph Fiennes is in it because I like
very
Ralph Fiennes.
good, very good. He is. And then David Marshall says Magnum did a couple of crossover episodes with Murder She Wrote. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
wow. God. I wonder how many episodes of Murder She Wrote there was.
Oh, bloody
a hell of a
hell!
lot. A hell of a lot. How many seasons?
What annoys me is they're thinking of bringing that back.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
even though Angela Lansbury's dead, they're thinking of bringing that back.
Rebooting it. Yeah.
They've already Netflix this week have just started showing a new version of Little House on the Prairie. No word of a lie.
Oh, dear.
And I'm just going,
no, why?
Michael Landon will always be
Yeah.
Little House on the
Associated with
Prairie.
that, yeah.
It's like somebody else taking over the role of Highway to Heaven or something, right?
Yeah,
I'm just going, no, it doesn't seem
No.
right. And it's obviously, therefore, if that does well, going to be followed up with the Waltons if they haven't done it already.
No, yeah, that's bound to.
These were shows that we loved over here because they were shown at a specific time, like 6 o'clock on BBC Two or something. And it showed an earlier sort of like way of life.
Yeah, yes.
You know, like pioneers that tried to get across the from east to west.
Yeah.
During the pioneer days
in America,
and these people that settled down had the hardest thing in the world to try and survive.
Yeah.
They became farmers and whatever it was. And you know,
and
things like the Waltons was a big family outfit that lived in a, well, I thought the house looked lovely, to be quite honest. I don't know how they could afford it, right? But it was during all of the wars that were going on, weren't they? You know, because John Boyd was going to be a reporter in the war, wasn't he? If I remember rightly, he was always the literary writer type person, wasn't he, in the family? But the thing that everybody remembers about it was at the end they all said, "Good night, John Boyd." Night, you know, all of that sort of stuff, because that's how they ended it every week. It was, but it really was about stuff that was going on during the Depression.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
So, and I, you know, when you do something these days, they don't say they don't make it in the way that is sympathetic, because it's looked upon as boring now. Yeah. It's too slow.
The pacing of the story.
When there's somebody come along with a gun and shoot the bloody hell out of somebody or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They don't like character development.
No.
Character development doesn't exist. Let's see. Oh yeah, Sai says Cowboys and Aliens is an abomination.
Anyway, I'm going to go and check
Another
up my mum
fan.
again. I'll be back in a bit.
Okay, another big fan of that. And Tony says, ages ago, since I saw Cowboys and Aliens, his premise was good, but there was something lacking, in my opinion. Just okay. I've got it on DVD. Yeah, I think you're right. There's something very lacking. It's called Daniel Craig. Oops. You know, I'm not a fan of Daniel Craig. I'm surprised I've got it in my collection, but yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. He's not a good James Bond, in my opinion. And that film, yeah, just don't get him at all. Very bland, just nothing as an actor. Yeah, I know people will say I think there's one film that of it, and I've never seen it because he's in it, but they say it's a good film. It's Layer Cake, but for me, he just doesn't do it. Anyhow, we have got a new James Bond, haven't we? It's coming out sometime, probably in a few years' time. They did announce it out there that they're going to do one, but they haven't mentioned. We're waiting for who is going to play the role. Hopefully, it'll be somebody we don't know as well. That works best, I think. But Daniel Craig is an actor. I never took to him. Never took to him at all. And then, oh yeah, Tuna, not heard of that one. It sounds a bit fishy. Yes, I get your point there. Yes, yeah, it is a bit fishy. Good one, like it. Tony's laughing there, and Tony says, Robert Powell did a TV series after the film called Hannah. It got that on the DVD. It's quite good. Well, that's good. They must have thought they could do the character. Yeah, it would have potential. You could actually create. I could see that. Yeah, but and you've got it on DVD. Is that on network as well? Network. And then so I said, I remember Hannah. I can't remember enjoying it. I can remember. Sorry, I can remember enjoying it. It does sound good. Robert Powell, he's a good actor. He's Robert Powell. He says, I remember the matey bath liquid. Oh, I don't. I don't matey. Don't remember that at all. I remember the tar soap. That's it, the tar one. But were those mold kits called shaker makers? Possibly. I don't know. But I don't know. Delboy went right into it, but who knows? Who knows? And then Tony says, that sounds familiar, David. I'm sure I had something like that as a child. Yeah. Do you know, I think I remember the TV adverts of these things. I'm sure I do vaguely remember of them, you know. And like everything always looks great on TV, but when it comes down to when you see it practically, it doesn't. You know, things don't look as good. I remember you'd see Etch-a-Sketch on TV, and it looked fantastic. When I got it, I couldn't work the blooming thing. It was awful, Etch-a-Sketch. Or the spirograph things as well. They used to drive me mad. Spirograph going round and round. Again, at first they looked okay, but I could never get into them really. After a while, I got a bit bored with them. Do you remember paint by numbers as well? And you could get like oil paints, and you'd do these paintings that were already there, giving you colour and where to put it. They didn't seem to work out look as good as they did on the TV. No, nothing ever does it? When these toys, the toys, even some of them, you know, they look absolutely fantastic on TV. You'd look at it and not as good. Though to be fair, some were. Some were okay when you actually got to see them. But I'm trying to think of things like, I remember when you had these Hot Wheel tracks. They were like orange things, and you put them, and then you'd go around these loops and all over. And Matchbox did one as well. They weren't bad, but you needed plenty of space. You did need a lot of space. That was the thing. And if you didn't have much space, they weren't very good. Like Scale Electric as well. That was another thing. I remember me and my brother had a Scale Electric, and you needed a lot of space to set up a decent track. Otherwise, you had a very small track, and after a while, it didn't look that good, you know. But I used to race, you know, I used to race with him, and I suppose it was okay, you know, racing on there after a while. Um, and then Tony says, cobblers to you too, Ian and Dell. Well, thank you, cobblers. Yes, cobblers. Cobblers to you. What a lot of cobblers. And then Ty says, my mate's granddad was a furrier at a blacksmith. Wow. They don't have places like that anymore. No, I would imagine they don't. I think there still is some blacksmiths. There's not many, but they still has to be, because don't forget, there's people who do have horses, and farmers as well. Some of them probably still have horses. So yeah, I have seen blacksmiths still going. You know, something like a bargain hunt will show you, you know, blacksmiths and places like that, which is always interesting to see. Yeah. But I suppose it's one of those things that has reduced a lot in size. But there's always going to be, if you've got horses, they're always going to be needed. But I suppose, a increasingly small amount of them. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, Tony says the old ironmongers used to sell nails, screws, etc. by the pound. Ah, yes. Remember like little bags they create, and you put them in there. Yeah, I remember all those. Yeah. And Tony says, "Viva Malvinas!" Oh, that's the Argentinian thing. Yeah, as Argentina must be no good, as their president has been mates with Orange. Yeah, which you have to be pretty daft to be a mate of it. Tony says, "Lovely Walk" was a book originally, I think, whose writer adapted it for the theatre under the directorship of Joan Littlewood, who went on to direct "Oh, Sparrows Can't Sing," of course, with Barbara Windsor, which I love. Yes, that's come up before with Barbara Windsor. Yeah, that's that. Oh, I love that film. Yeah, it's one of those old British films. And then we've got, I know this is Mer. Hello, Mer, from the Philippines. Welcome, Mer, and watching from the Philippines. Good evening to you all. He's gone off as Delboy. I don't know. He'll be back soon. He's just seeing to his mum. But yeah, thank you, Mer, for joining us. It's wonderful, and hope things are okay in the Philippines. Yeah, and then good evening, lovely cat. I say it's Mer. She's saying hello again, and he's back. He's back.
Is lovely cat in?
Yeah, yeah, and then Sai saying hi, lovely, and then Tony says there's protests in Kent about a proposed data center for AI. It's going to be well over 100 acres, bigger than neighbouring villages. I read we have more of them in the UK than others in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not heard about that.
But... by the way, I forgot to get myself a bottle of water, so I'll just get that quickly.
Okay.
Carry on.
Yeah, well, what can you say? It's something. Should we be worried about? Maybe we should be very worried about these things. Sai says, Jamie Leigh Curtis is going to play Jessica Fletcher in Murder She Wrote reboot. Do you know, I could see that. I could see her doing that. Yeah, whether we need it or not, but I can see. I can see her doing that. Jamie Lee Curtis. It's the kind of role she would, I think, probably do okay in. The beginning of the chat reminds me of the Waltons.
Yeah, remember the night John Boy meets guy. Hello, Si. Hello.
And Si says, talking of AI, Tony, has your phone told you to go to bed yet? We always have this one. Yeah. And then Tony says, yes, and to take a break, I'll break it, I think. Oh, yeah, give it a good break. Get rid of it. And then Si's having a good laugh. And then David said, I watched Jeremiah Johnson a bit back, and Grandpa from the Waltons was in it. There you are.
Yeah, he was a well-known actor. I forgot his name now.
And then,
of course, the grandma, yeah. She was in Alfred Hitchcock film. She was in with Jimmy Stewart. Was Which she? One? Oh, who was it? Who was she? Was she in the back? Was she in Rear Window? Not sure. Can't remember anyway.
And Tony says, years since I saw Jeremiah Johnson. Don't remember that guy in it. Guess it needs a rewatch. And then Tony says, I think Daniel Craig's best role was one of his first as the down and out character in Our Friends in the North TV series. Yeah, I agree, actually. That is the one thing I do like him in that. Yeah. Which is a good series, that, definitely. And so it says Daniel Craig was okay in Road to Perdition. He played Paul Newman's son in it. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm not saying I've heard of that.
For some reason, I always used to call that the Road to Perdition.
Perdition, right?
But I don't know if it was Perdition or I think it was Perdition.
Perdition. Is it Perdition? No. Yeah, probably Perdition. And then Tony says, sometimes the simple toys are the best. I remember really enjoying playing with a small wooden fort. Oh, yeah. And arranging toy soldiers on the battlements. Oh, I
got a question then.
Yeah.
What was the toy that you were, as a child, you badgered your parents for, and when you got it, it was the most disappointing toy you ever got in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Yeah. Because they looked. Yeah. Let's think about that one. I know I badgered my parents about some toys and never got them. So I've had to get in now as an adult. I've got them.
Oh, we all had those, and we were all upset that our neighbours probably got them and we didn't get them.
Yeah, I always wanted an Action Man. Instead, I got a cheap knockoff version.
Yeah.
Because my woman says, well, it's cheap, but it's just the same. But it wasn't the same. You could move it the same as an Action Man who can move all over the place.
I remember I remember one year, it was the year where I probably got the most electronic toys that you could ever get in your life. So it must have been like 1980 or something like that. And this was when there was a game called Simon, right? Which was just it looked like the ELO spaceship, right? It was black with 4 colors on the top that were red, yellow, blue, whatever it was. And all you did, you switched it on, and basically you told it to start, and it would just play a tuning sequence. So it'd go red, blue, and you had to go red, blue, and then it'd go red, blue, green, and you'd go red, blue, green, and it just got faster and faster and faster until you got it wrong. Well, how boring is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. By I'll tell you what happened. The batteries ran out, and I was bored before the batteries ran out.
That's not very good.
And you remember back in those days, right? That your parents must have bought shares in batteries because
Yeah.
you had
Yes.
more electronic toys that year than anything else, and they must have bought packs of batteries, all C-cell
Yeah.
ones, the big bloody great big knockoff, because you probably got a Ghetto Blaster, and you got a Simon game, and you got a Merlin game, and you got Operation, the Mad Doctor's game, which would have required a battery as well for that, etc., etc. And it was like, and then by the time you'd got through the whole day of Christmas, all the batteries would have run out, and you said, "Dad, is anybody open Boxing Day so you can buy some more batteries?" Because your dad didn't work out that really you should have bought a plug adapter for these things.
That's
right?
it. So
they ran off the mains.
Yeah.
Right. But those things cost about 14 or 15 quid back then, which was almost as expensive as the item that you bought.
Yeah.
Right. So your dad bought packs of batteries.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember Simon. I remember another electronic toy called Big Track, right, which was a great big tank with a calculator that was on the top, and you programmed it to go around your house, and it did things, right? Turn right 10 degrees, goes forward 10 degrees, right? And you programmed it to go from your living room into the dining room or something, and pick up a fork or something and bring it back to you. And you spent hours working out that it needed to go forward for 30 seconds, then turn 90 degrees and go another 30 seconds forward. And by the time you worked it out, the batteries were dead.
Oh,
and shit.
Yeah.
Right. And you never wrote the damn thing down either, so you could do it again.
Yeah.
And you drove your dad nuts. Dad, get out of the way. I want to do this. What do you mean, get out of the way? It's Christmas. Go upstairs and play. I can't play it upstairs. My room's too small.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that this is the reason why my dad never bought me a railway set or a scale electric set. Yeah, because he'd have to help you put it together, and then by the time you put it together, you needed the living room space to have the Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
So you had to bloody unpack the damn thing. And then when you did get it all assembled, what did it do? The cars just went round a track, and it went round the little grooves. Yeah. And all you did was you held the trigger down, and it would go faster, and you held the trigger away, and it stopped.
Yeah.
So how exciting is that? But in our minds, it was the most exciting thing. The advert said the first scale electric car with pop-up lights, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's got lights! Yeah. Oh, I've got to have that." Where really it was a black track with two lines going in it and a car that had a bulb in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But back in the day, I wanted these things. I wanted Meccano. We could never afford Meccano, so my dad bought me Lego or Stickle bricks or something.
Yeah.
Stickle bricks because you couldn't afford Lego.
Yeah. Lego was very different, wasn't it, to what it is now? It was
Which is why I actually quite liked it when my grandparents turned up and they gave me an annual for Christmas.
Oh, I love annuals.
I could just sit in the corner reading about Doctor Who or Looking Annual or whatever it was, or TV 21 Annual or whatever it was, because it had all the, I could read that in the corner and not be bothered by anybody.
Yeah.
All these electronic toys that cost about 30 quid, and I was more interested in the £1.75 annual that my granddad bought me.
And I was interested in Ladybird books. My mum used to buy me all those Ladybird books, all historical ones. She knew I loved history, and she really got me into history.
It'd be interesting to know if we have got more comments coming in now. What their most disappointing toy was.
Yeah, the disappointing one.
I mean, there were so many I could mention about Evil Knievel and the $6 Million Man with his bionic arm and the engine that he lifted up, and you could look through his eye, and then there was Stretch Armstrong and all of that sort of stuff, which was basically just a toy made out of rubber with syrup inside it.
Yeah.
In fact, I bet you any money that half the toys that you bought at Christmas, you took the head off it by then, and all the syrup came out. You
I
know what I mean? 'Cause
remember.
you were more intrigued to work out what made it stretch.
Yeah.
You were that it stretched.
I remember getting, like, I think you'd call it the Thunderbird Christmas. We got Thunderbird 1, I got Thunderbird
Oh,
2,
yeah.
and Thunderbird 3, and they were great. They were absolutely fantastic.
I wanted the super
Beautiful.
huge. I wanted the super huge eagle from Space 1999.
Oh, yeah.
That was a fortune. I think it was like 60 or 70 quid or something. And it didn't even come with any of the figures. It was just the eagle that you took the top off and you could see the pilot stage, and it had the cutaway for the main commander unit, you know, where people were carried around and all that sort of stuff. And but of course my dad bought me the dinky version, you know, of the eagle, you know, and the funny thing about that was they must have made a fortune from that, because they brought out so many different versions of the eagle, but it was the same mold apart from the middle section, which either had a winch with radioactive cylinders that were held on by magnets and a cable, or you had the cutaway version where you could open it up and there was the storage unit. So there's two that I've mentioned straight away. It's the same mold.
Yeah. Do you know something? If you can get those in the original packaging,
oh yeah,
they are worth a hell of a lot of money. Just look on eBay, and they are massively expensive. I'd love to have some. I'd love to have some. Right.
Anyway, carry on.
And then Si says, I'm going to watch The Odyssey tonight on IMAX at 1 minute past 12. Wow. Well,
there was a big article in the papers today talking about how the production of that film was really, really difficult, because they had all sorts of problems in regards to the weather and all of that sort of stuff. So that was interesting. Anyway.
And then David Marshall says, Tony, I think Jeremiah Johnson was made just before The Sting. All right. And then Tony says, can you get there in time, Si? Oh, yeah, I get your point. Yeah. Yeah, my godson is picking me up in an hour. All right. So I don't know how far behind we are.
Oh, yeah, we've got an hour and 21 minutes.
But you thought that, yes, early 70s, David. And then Si says, I paid for his ticket, so he takes me there and back and saves on taxes. Well, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's really
good deal.
Yeah. Si says, that fully electric game, Simon, was a nightmare for people called Simon.
Yeah. Simon says, no, I bloody well didn't say. Bastard.
And Slipknot says, do you guys like the song Mr. Roboto by Styx?
I've heard it.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
I've not heard it for a long time.
Can't think of how it goes.
It was one of their big songs. I think it was quite a big song for Styx. I've not heard it for a long time. I can't even remember how it goes.
That's what I said. I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah. And then Si says, Slipknot, cheers for the earworm. I can't start humming it now. Well, you see, they remember it. Yeah.
See, he remembers it. I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah. And then Tony says, I think my most used Christmas present, at least until I got tired of it, was a cassette tape recorder. It used to record no end of stuff off the radio. I totally agree. I remember when you get your first.
Yeah, but wasn't it great, because you got that, and then when you opened up your next present, it was a big stack of Woolworths blank audio tapes. 10 pack.
Yeah, and the little mic. You remember the little mic and everything? Yeah. It was wonderful, the cassettes. Until they decided to get stuck. They used to get stuck, didn't they? Which was annoying.
My tape recorder had an inbuilt radio and a 5-inch black and white TV built in it.
Oh, that is posh. Good.
Yeah, but that was my portable TV. That was my TV in my bedroom for 2 years. You try playing a game on a 5-inch screen.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be impossible.
Or you have to because my computers all had keyboards. You had to type the program in. You had to put things like 10, print my name, 20. And go to. You try reading that on a 5-inch screen. You're like this.
Yeah.
What? Have I written that right? Have I put a comma there? Is that a comma or a full stop? Oh shit!
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh dear. And then Simon says, Tony, did you used to record the top 40 on Sunday? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Edit out the DJ in between songs. Yeah, I remember doing that.
Well, if you had a posh recorder, you could press record and play. And when the music was just about to stop and the DJ came in, you press pause.
Pause, yeah.
And then you could unpause it. But most people didn't have that, so they press record and play. You had to hit stop and then press record and play again for the next bit. You didn't get a join.
When the DJ would still be talking over the record that had just started, it put the record on, so he'd still be talking. You said, "Get off! I'm trying to record it. I don't want your voice on there." But,
sod off you.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, the singles were. How much? The singles were quite expensive out of your pocket money. So
99 pence were they? Just under £1, penny under £1, weren't they?
So to record on radio was a good thing, because it was better than buying those Woolworths records, where they had some artist. They had a nice sort of woman on the front. And they have these cover artists, and they're bloody awful, weren't they?
Top of the pops with the
cover versions, do all these songs. They were dreadful. They were like reject groups that no record company would ever sign.
Yeah. So they always had a scantily clad woman in a bikini on the front.
That's right. You get a Woolworths and that used to sell them, as I remember. They were atrocious, absolutely.
They all had labels like K-Tel or Ronco.
There was some of them they crammed proper hits on, but they faded them out quick. So you get this record on just to cram it all on. So you still didn't get the full record. Did you Arcade, is it Ronson or something?
There were, like I said, Ronco there was.
Yeah,
there was K-Tel.
Yeah, I remember K-Tel, an Arcade, but they crammed them all in. My dad had Meccano. I just had Lego. Yeah, my brother had the Meccano.
I always wanted Meccano. It was just too expensive.
Yeah, he was into all that. I wasn't really, to be honest. And then Tony says, I probably did forgot exactly what I recorded, but I remember there was quite a bit of Tony Blackburn, he was on a lot, wasn't he? On the charts.
Him or Noel Edmonds or
Noel Edmonds. Oh, that other bloke, Alan Freeman.
Alan Freeman.
Yeah. And then Tony says, I had Lady Penelope's pink convertible Rolls Royce, Shadow Mobile, and UFO interceptors from Anderson shows.
The Shadowmobile was really quite good because it was a tank and the top swiveled round. It had a gun at the top, but when you turn the thing round, it had a flat roof, but when you turned the little dial on the edge that was clipping it, it span round and it showed a little rocket launcher that you put those little rocket launcher thing. And I tell you what, you got 3 of those in a little plastic bag, and you're bound sure you'd have lost one.
Yeah. And then Dave Marshall's Action Men were great, and my Action Man had a relationship with my sister's Barbie. Hey up, Ken wasn't happy. Hey, leave that Action Man away. I don't want him around. Hey, well, Ken was a bit of a. She's bound to go for Barbie.
He was a nonce. That's what he was.
And Action Man was a bit more rugged, a bit more, up there. Slater says, it is very catchy.
Oh, that sticks thing.
Yeah. And then Slater was saying, Domo Argento Mr. Roboto. Oh, it says Domo Argento
Yeah,
Mr.
it was repeated over
Roboto.
and over again, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh.
I can't remember it how the song. Anyway,
I don't remember. And Tony says, I had a radio cassette, mini black and white TV. Yeah. All
yeah,
in one unit. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
that's what I had.
Yeah. Anyone remember Crossfire?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
right.
Crossfire, if I remember rightly, was two guns that fired marbles at each other with a little red, which had a ball bearing covered by a piece of plastic that went round it. You had to knock the marbles to knock the puck into the other person's goal. And you were there, and because you fired the marbles, they would go to the other side of the person's side. So they had more marbles that they could fire, they could hold, they could push into the gun to fire. So you were rapidly going fire, like this, trying to get the puck to go into their goal, the other side. I'm pretty sure that was Crossfire.
Yeah. That sounds good. And then Tony says, not really, but the name rings a bell. And then Tony says, he said Fluff Freeman. Yes, Fluff.
Well, he was well known for the countdown, wasn't it? And at number 10,
yeah, and that music,
places, and
yeah,
pop pickers, and all of that.
Bruno Brooks was the top DJ I remember the most. I think he's after my time. I've heard of him.
Bruno Brooks was.
I don't really know him.
Was mid-80s, wasn't it? Early.
That's it. That's why I don't know him. Yeah. All I know is John Peel. Because he was playing the kind of music I listened to late night. John Peel, everything he played, I got into. And then David Marshall says, "Watch The Housemaid with the wife Sunday. Good. I love The Housemaid. What a film."
Yeah, do you remember I showed you my steelbook of that?
Yeah, it's a great film. Still love it. And then Sai says, I've heard that it's good. It is. It's very good. And we've got to the end. Yes, we've got to the end. So, there's another one said, David Marshall said, it's good side, good twist. It is brilliant. And then Slipknot says, is there any first edition books you guys would like to own? Mine would be 1897 first edition of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I don't know if I was to own a first edition. I could go for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which would be in similar vein.
Yeah. It's a difficult one for me because my sister's got a lot of very, very early edition Enid Blytons and all of that sort of stuff. I was big into sort of like comics and stuff when I was a kid. But as I've grown up, I suppose I could turn around and say I'd like a first edition of, I don't know, let's say I Dream of Electric Sheep or something like that, just so that I've got the book, the first edition that goes along with my Blade Runner collection, or there's probably a lot of science fiction books or ghost stories that I'd like. I've got first editions of those fighting fantasy books that I had as a kid. And I suppose any first edition of any of those Ladybird books, where you had, things like Rapunzel and Snow White and all of those, with those painted, with those lovely, gorgeous covers.
I have got some. The early editions, the first editions, are the one they do have a cover. an actual dust cover. Later Ladybird books, they didn't.
I wonder what the first edition of the Bible looks like. I wonder if it had a page at the front that says this is a make-believe story.
Yeah, this is.
And they just ripped it out when they reprinted.
Well, nobody could read it when they did the Bibles. That was deliberate. Nobody would be able to read it anyhow. All those monks. Think of all those monks. Hours and hours of copying out this rubbish.
Can you imagine at the front of the book it says, This book contains language of the time and must not be.
Yeah.
And please do not take offense.
And of course, if there's some naughtiness in the Bible, they'd have to try and rephrase it, wouldn't they? Because there's naughty stuff in there. And then there's all the horror and gore, which they can put in. You get all the massacres and killings. These monks must have had a really good time, mustn't they, doing that?
I think I'd like a storybook from Tudor times. Yeah. I'd really like to know what the printed word looked like then.
Yeah, I think in modern terms, a first edition of 1984 would be good.
Well, yeah,
1984. I think that would be. There's more chance of getting that probably. I don't know how much it would be, but I'm sure you could get hold of that. I mean, people. I know Harry Potter stuff. First editions go for a lot of money as well, but
which is amazing when you consider that really is just the end of the 20th century, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't really. It wouldn't attract me. I'd want something with a bit more.
You see, I'd like first editions of Roald Dahl's books and things like that.
Yeah. I've
Danny the Champion of the World, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
My wife was a big Roald Dahl fan, and she's got
first edition James Bond, first edition Ian Fleming.
Oh, James Bond's very sellable, very sellable. Yeah, that would be if you could get hold of James Bond. I think they sell quite.
I mean, they're quite easy to get hold of, but the Target Doctor Who books were the first editions of those were quite easy to get hold of.
Yeah.
Trouble is, they're so intermingled now with the reprints, with the Doctor Who symbols that change.
Yeah.
The Target books that I remember were white.
And if you could get signed ones, you'd be really onto a winner.
Oh yeah.
Especially if there were Hartnell or Troughton, you'd probably be really onto a winner. I know Patrick Troughton's signature goes for quite a lot of money. Yeah, but there we are. Anyhow, so let's go on to the next one. David says, didn't Marvel do a Dracula comic?
Yeah.
There you are.
It was called Tomb of Dracula, and it was drawn by Gene Colan. He was the I think the only artist for the whole of that run, which was 75 issues. But Marvel also did what they call a magazine, and I think it was things like Vampire, I think there was, and they did, but because what happened was, if you bought a comic, it had to go by the comic book code. But if they did a magazine, they could put it on the top shelf, and it didn't have to go through the comic book code. So they could finally print horror comics again, because they were banned through the years. In the 50s, this psychiatrist came out and said, don't buy your kids comics because they'll turn into juveniles.
And
there was a big case that went on, and of course all the comic that were coming out during the time, they all died. All the companies died. This is why Marvel wasn't called Marvel until 1961. Before then, it was Atlas and Timely, because they had to go under different names, because the company had to be liquidated and then come back and be under another name and all of that sort of stuff to continue. So it's a very the history of comics is a very interesting one. The further you go back, because Stanley always used to say when he went to parties and that he avoided the question, "What do you do as a profession?" He'd say, "I'm a writer."
Yeah.
He wouldn't say what he was a writer of, because he'd be laughed out the party.
Yeah. And then we've got Tony saying, talking of Dracula, the original Christopher Lee film is getting the big box release for Amma in October. Yeah,
Have they actually got a pre-order out for that?
I don't know if we got a pre-order, but
I don't think they
may well. I don't know. And then Slipknot says, Tony Hawk's, that's going to be awesome. And then put thumbs up. And then so it says the first edition of the Bible was in Greek, apparently. Yeah, it probably was. There's been a lot of translations of it over years. And remembering, really, people forget that the Old Testament is really the Jewish Bible. Like the Torah and all that sort of stuff, all their stories come from the Jewish one. And the New Testament was put together by a council. Because there were all these different gospels being written by various people, and a group of people got together and said, okay, we'll put these stories together and then we'll give them, I don't know, we'll call them Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And that's what they did. So they're not, I think the mistaken belief is that these are actually written by the disciples. They're not. They're just names that were attached to it.
It wouldn't surprise me if the first Bible didn't have a word in it and it was all drawings.
Well, yeah, possibly. The stories would have been passed on in an oral tradition. I presume it would be in the Old Testament
because they ran out of artists. They had to write it down what the picture looked like.
Yeah, like the creation stories are all probably they've compared a lot of them around the world, and they're very similar. They're very similar kind of stories, the creation stories. And then we've got Tony saying, I think Greek was a kind of universal language in Europe in ancient times, similar to how English is today. Yeah, and you've forgotten the other language, which was quite universal, which is Latin.
Well, when I saw that, I was just about to turn around and say, do you know what? I reckon Latin was made up just to piss students off.
Latin was like it was a language that was used by the church, the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
used Latin, and they deliberately loved it because it means that nobody could question what they were saying because nobody could understand what they were saying. You get these priests going,
the only Latin that I like was Looney Tunes when it had Wile E. Coyote in it.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, Latin was a language made up just to piss students off.
Yeah, I know. Thank heavens, big time. In my era at school, it was fading just about out. Thank heavens. But before that, it was on the thing, wasn't it? Latin had to be learned at school.
Yeah. They didn't call it the forgotten language for no reason whatsoever. But I tell you what, I just never got it. All this. So the Latin name for this butterfly was Bigus Wingus Lobuloculus. And I'm going, what the It's a butterfly.
Yeah.
Why you got to have more letters than a Scrabble flipping game?
Yeah.
To explain to me that this thing's a butterfly.
Phew! I'm really glad I missed all that nonsense. Though they use. Fortunately, I didn't have to do this in my research, but if you're a historian, you have to probably learn Latin or have a basic knowledge, because if you're looking at the documents, that's how they did it. But if I look at some of the 17th century documents, which I've looked at, it's sort of in Old English, so you can read it easier. It's easier to read.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how
yeah.
the English language sort of like changed, didn't it? Because it was all Norman and Saxon and all of this sort of stuff, and you had a mix of
Just
them.
a mixture, yeah. The
And,
Roman
and you
influence
sort
is
of get
obviously
it because although they didn't use too many words like thou and all of this sort of stuff, you can see the words which have got sort of like ease at the end of words that are familiar and all of that sort of stuff. And you went, oh, okay, right, okay. Because it's almost like the English language that was written down was done like phono. What do they call it? Where you pronounce it the way that it's sort of like spelt. So spoon might be SPOONE or something like this. You know what I mean? So because it was.
As far as I know, if we went back to Middle Ages, we wouldn't understand a word they were saying in the Old English language.
All these people that want to go back in time and go back to the Middle Ages, you wouldn't understand a bloody thing that anybody's saying.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. They'd look at you and think you were I don't know, a stranger, a foreigner. They would think. The language didn't change. And I suppose the Tudor Stuart period, the language starts to evolve in more recognizable English that we recognize. Because don't forget the King James Bible was a big project which James I did.
I think the more you go to the point where the first universities were being
the
universities, because I mean even now there's an argument that Cambridge had the first university, but it was Oxford that had the first schools. It might well be that the word university came at the time that Cambridge did have the first university, but Oxford is always considered to have the oldest school going. These scholars that were doing the books hand wrote those books.
That's right.
There was no printing press.
No, not until Caxton. Caxton was the man who changed everything with the printing press.
Anyway, we could be on that. We could be on that subject for hours.
That is probably one of the most important inventions ever made.
The printing press
changed so much. Everything. And then we've got Dave saying, "Night, everyone. Thanks for yet another great evening chat.
Fantastic,
thank you. You're probably gone by now, but thank you, David, for being there." And then Tony says, "Good night, all, and thank you, Tony."
Night, Tony, you bastard. Yeah.
And then Sai says, "Nighty night, guys. Great movie chat as always. Cheers to Ian and Delboy for tonight's entertainment and the obligatory shout out to Mrs. Dell. Thank you. That's the last comment, as always. Thank you, Simon. I mean, sorry, Sai. Sorry, Donkey, you'll kill me if I call you Sai. Everybody, thank you for watching us tonight. And thank you, Delboy. As always, it's been a pleasure. And we'll be back to Wednesday next week. And so everybody who's made comments or anybody who's just watched us, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, brilliant.
So we better go now. So just do our normal farewells.
Wow. I'm a big fan of the two Ronnie, so I just say there's goodbye from me.
It's good night from him.
Good night. But on my side of things, I always say salute at the end of all my comments. So because of the great Frankie Howard. So salute.
And all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Yeah.